Hey guys, welcome back to the Twisted Cast. We want to apologize for missing the last week. I don't remember if we skipped 2 weeks in a row, but it's been like every other week. We just had some stuff coming up, some life stuff, and it just be like that sometimes. We did complete all of the Twisted Metal reviews, so we reviewed every single one from the first game all the way to the most recent, which was 2012 on the PS3. If you haven't checked out those reviews, we kindly ask you go check them out. I think you'll really enjoy them. We enjoyed making them. Today's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a review of any certain game. We're going to be basically asking the question, can the Twisted Metal franchise be saved? In general, like, if there was a new game that came out, or if we get an announcement of a new game, will it do well in today's gaming climate? Will it sell well? Will it stay alive? All those questions. Is car combat even really a genre that can survive these days? And then we'll also kind of get into like the failed projects of Twisted Metal, some of them that just kind of never got off the ground running, and we'll talk a little bit about Harbor City and some other stuff as well. This is going to be kind of a dysfunctional podcast. We don't really have like a set timeline we're going to go in order. We're just going to kind of go off our top of our heads of how we feel about the franchise as a whole, car combat, and yeah, about the failed projects. So before we started recording, I think Drew and Winters both found some interesting things about one of them was a failed project called Twisted Metal Revolution, correct?
Yeah, that's one of the ideas they had before Twisted Metal 2012 became what it was. There was Twisted Metal Apocalypse, which I think is pretty well known at this point.
Yeah.
And among the ideas was another one called Twisted Metal Revolution, which would have seen the franchise take on a more grounded and realistic aesthetic, taking from street culture, hip hop, sort of like Rockstar's Midnight Club, taking that idea and, and translating that to Twisted Metal where there's car combat. And what's interesting, I think, is that the concept art that they had commissioned for Revolution appears to have been from 2008, which is when we thought development started.
Yeah.
So they probably used a lot of those ideas from Revolution and used them in the actual finished product of 2012.
Right.
And I think you see that with the factions, the way the factions are portrayed in that game, where they're gangs essentially,
mm-hmm.
and how a lot of the cars are a little more grounded than normal. Even like Twisted Metal 2, they seem like bright and vibrant and a little silly sometimes. But with 2012, they're all cars you would expect to see in a game like Revolution.
Yeah.
And I just think that is interesting that they were able to salvage some of that stuff and use it for 2012.
I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot by not making a game based in the Revolutionary War, but in vehicles.
I want to ask you what kind of vehicles you think would be in that game.
Horses. It'd be like it'd be like Fallout, where like it's the 1950s, but they have like futuristic technology. Be like that, like a different alternate timeline.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, shoot, I want to see like Twisted Metal 4, their introduction, that opening cutscene, like the 1910s or whatever, like a bunch of Model Ts just going at it. I'm interested in that.
That'd be cool.
Twisted Metal Gangster or Twisted Metal Prohibition.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Jesus.
BC Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal Mafia.
Oh,
seriously?
Wow. Twisted Metal Noir.
Oh, there you go.
That's already Twisted Metal Black.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, true.
It's a bit off topic, but also on topic. I actually, I think you guys have may seen the wall next to my gaming shelf. I have like a pair of old barber tools from like, what was it, 1905, and then a picture of a Tommy gun. And my grandfather actually gave a haircut to Al Capone with those barber tools, and then ended up becoming a judge in his town, and then basically licensed the first Tommy gun because Al Capone kept coming through town and they were outgunned. So it kind of ties into the Twisted Metal or gangster prohibition thing, which is why it kind of jumped into my head.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But neat stuff.
Yeah, Twisted Metal, it's one of those things, like, I think it's kind of a beauty that like none of the games kind of go together in terms of you can split them apart and they can be their own game. Like you could literally put any name on them, and except for some of the characters making returns, they don't like the characters even seem completely different in each game. Like even though they have the same name and relatively same concept of vehicle, that they have so many differences that you could treat each game as their own kind of universe in a way. We covered that before. But the nice thing about that is like they literally they had every opportunity to make any type of story based on Twisted Metal, like the revolutionary thing, like or like the Midnight Club thing with the gangs and stuff like that. And again, I think that they had that in their minds because of the height of like Grand Theft Auto. I really, because at the time with Harbor City, that was like one of the biggest reasons that game kind of failed, is because they didn't have any on foot sections, or at least that's how Sony looked at it. And they were like, all these 3D platform, or not platform, but these mega 3D open world games like Grand Theft Auto 3 are selling like hotcakes because they're so new and exciting, and we want on foot, like being able to get out of your vehicle. And I feel like they could have done that and been successful, but it's just like, would the diehard Twist Metal fans would they have enjoyed it, or would they have been more like, I want the old fashioned, just you're stuck in the vehicle, it's all about vehicles, it's not about being on foot. I'm on the fence. I don't know, because we've never had that before, right? Except for just the Sweet Tour, I guess. But
yeah, it's impossible to know. Like, it's all what ifs, it's all theory.
mm-hmm.
But I do think the mainstream appeal of Twisted Metal, like at its peak, I think was that it gave you that sort of freedom to explore an environment and kind of do whatever you wanted. And then once the big open world games came out, GTA 3, Saints Row, Mafia, so on,
yeah,
I think it sort of took that mainstream appeal away from Twisted Metal and left only the hardcore audience who cared about the car combat part of it.
right.
And so I think that's maybe why it couldn't continue lasting, because what the mainstream casual audience wanted, they now could get in a much bigger, better game than Twisted Metal.
Mm-hmm. That's a good observation. Sorry, go ahead, Kong.
I was just gonna say because when Twisted Metal released, like that was during like gaming's still like infancy period, where people were just testing stuff out, and games became more expansive. Like car combat literally is just like a smaller part of another game at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can just include it in anything. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure like GTA has a car combat mode, and that's just like a section, like a game. It can just be like, why release a game as a car combat game when we can just have it as an aspect of a game with a bunch of other stuff on top of it?
Yeah.
So it's really hard for a car combat game to succeed unless it's like an indie game.
Yeah,
that'd be the only time.
This is definitely a sign of the times. We had discussions both on the Vigilante 8 and Twisted Metal side, where Halo and GTA came in and they offered car combat on foot, in and out of cars, missions, cool, different type of guns and things like that. And that was, identified as one of the things that killed the auto combat franchise. And yeah, there was definitely discussion around, can we do these things that GTA and Halo did to kind of offer this to the audience and compete with these products? But the problem is, as you guys pointed out, we were in the infancy of gaming back then. So we were taking a lot of risks doing very weird and interesting things, but you kind of needed a smaller team to do that. And, it's because it was less risk. It was less cost. And being the first ones out on these consoles, people were going to pick up our games regardless of what they were, whether they were good or bad, or a genre they didn't like. And they would eventually learn to like it because, if you ever buy like a PS1, you're just going to pick up the games on that system just to see what they're like, for the most part. Mm-hmm. But if we wanted to compete with them, we would have had to grow into much larger team sizes that rivaled Halo and GTA team sizes, making games that honestly the competition was better at doing at. So it was way too risky. And I think that's one of the things that really ended auto combat. Like we're willing to do these small games that were purely auto combat, but we weren't, Sony and Activision weren't willing to take the risks to grow out these teams and spend a crap ton more money to go head to head with these companies that did it much better. So that was one of the things that really kind of killed car combat, even though Luxoflux did end up making the True Crime series, which was, GTA Lite for the most part. And it did pretty well, but it was never as good as those guys. Like, we were never going to fully compete with them.
And I think, like, with Car Combat 2, there's a lot of reasons obviously we could probably come up with as to why it could fail. If it, trying to bring it back in today's age, and with how many different genres of games we have nowadays, and with all these new technologies at developers' fingertips to make games more realistic and more like movies in a way, like the movie industry apparently now is being overshadowed by the gaming industry and stuff like that. Now, the one thing though I will say, or at least two things I should say about Car Combat and why I do feel it could do well potentially in today's age, and not just by being an indie title, but if Sony was to put money into a new Twisted Metal and make a AAA title at full price, maybe even releasing for a new console generation, who knows? I think, obviously if it released like a PS6 or whatever, I think it would just sell regardless because it's a new system. And like you said, Dave, people just want to play games on the new system and test out the technology, and Sony is known to want to show off their hardware. So that might be a way. But the other two reasons is like, you brought up the point of, well, GTA and Halo and whatever, they had aspects of car combat in those games, and they also had all these other things like on foot sections. They had first person shooter elements. They had maybe even puzzles and stuff throughout like the story mode, whatever. You can do a ton of random things okay, but when you make your game centered around just one thing, but you perfect it or make it incredibly enjoyable, I don't know about you guys, but for me as a gamer, like that is enough for me. Now, if that one thing that you do isn't that great, then yeah, it's going to fail. It's going to flop. But I'd rather play a game where it does one thing amazingly than play a game that does 30,000 things, but all of them are just okay or kind of mid. And I feel like...
How big is that market, though?
Well, that's the thing, is we don't know, I guess. I'm trying to think of an example of like a recent AAA title that has like it's a one-trick pony, right? Like it only has one variable to it. It doesn't have a ton of different things going on. It's not an open world sandbox, and it wasn't successful. I can't think of anything like that. So that's
Tomb Raider,
why there's
maybe?
no what
Tomb Raider. I feel like that's a
Tomb Raider.
a limited experience, but it's AAA.
I thought that how long ago did that come out?
Yeah, that's been a while now.
Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's what 2000 something.
14.
Yeah, they had a recent
Late
reboot.
2010s.
Yeah,
That's-
2014. Those did sell pretty well, but those
That's
are more
a
like
decade ago.
you're looking at like the people that bought those games were probably really big fans of like
2018.
Uncharted. Where it's like I don't know if I would really call that a one-trick pony, because there is puzzles, there is a major storyline with great voice acting, and you also have first-person or third-person shooter, platforming. There's a lot of stuff in those games, even though it is linear and it is just a straight-up action-adventure survival game, technically. I can't really think of anything else. It's just more of like Twisted Metal, in a sense, you could see it like in an arcade room. Like you could see it as pop in a quarter, play a match, and you're done, and you can go do your own thing. Like where every game nowadays is all about player retention and trying to get players to come back more and more and more. We've been seeing that with Call of Duty and how they've been screwing over the player base because they're trying to keep player retention by all means necessary, which is ending up doing the opposite effect. So
Yeah, it's interesting because they want to hit you with little microtransactions, but also make you content for other people, like the whales. That's why they want to keep you around, is so that you are free entertainment for the people who actually do pay for the game,
right.
And all the little extra bells and whistles. But yeah, I mean, the game industry goes in cycles. Like when we did, the first Twisted Metals and V8s, you could get away with small arena-based games like Battle Arena Toshinden, or whether it's a Street Fighter or a Tekken, much smaller games that were, perfectly fine for what it was at the time.
Yeah.
But when the new shiny things came along, that's just like, hey, we have all this, but more, like your Halos and GTA, and here's hundreds of hours worth of content, and everybody's just like,
right.
Oh wow, this is the wave of the future. We're going to abandon these old games. But I'm now seeing, like, I've been in my quest to become good at the internet, which I don't know if I will ever get there. But I've been watching a lot of other podcasts about video games, and there seems to be a cycle where people are saying, you know what, I kind of wish I had these smaller arena-based games again, where
Yeah.
I pay, 20, 30, 40 bucks for it and get, 20, 30, 40 hours worth of gameplay, and then I can just move on to the next game. I'm actually people are not interested in buying these games that, they're 80, 100 bucks that offer 300 hours worth of gameplay. Everybody's just saying, I don't have time for that now.
Right.
Like, I am so busy and I never finish these games anymore. And what it's turning out is like, it seems like the video game audience is aging up and getting more responsibilities, and they want quicker, more satisfying gameplay experiences, as opposed to when they were younger and had an ass ton of free time, where they literally could sink in 40 to 80 hours worth of gameplay into a game and really feel satisfied with it.
Yeah.
Part of it too, the game's getting bloated, is that I think for a while, like the spending demographic of gaming, like they maybe couldn't spend like a new game every single month, so maybe they get like 2 games a year, like on their birthday and for Christmas or whatever. And so they wanted the game to last as long as possible. I wanted a 300-hour experience because that's the only game I could play for the next 6 months or whatever. But I think as that audience grew up and got jobs and, like you said, less free time, they also had more money to spend. So I think they're willing to have more experiences that are shorter rather than one big experience that they have to make last for, half a year.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, I mean, to you guys, would you, in your point, in your current point in life right now, would you want an $80 game that gives you 300, 400, 500 hours worth of gameplay, or would you rather have 2 games that give shorter, very quick, satisfying experience that maybe total, I don't know, 40, 50 hours total? Are you going to get tired of playing that 300-hour game? Or are you going to be like, oh God, I'm not even a quarter of the way in and I have 400 missions, and every time I finish one, I get 2 more. Like, at that point,
depends.
it feels like a job to a lot of people that I've talked to about it. But you're saying, Kong?
It depends on the audience, though, because they're like, the audience is always going to be kids, because like the people are gonna keep aging up, like, obviously, and they're gonna have less time. But all those people that are aging up are just gonna be replaced by a bunch of kids.
That's true. But
it's like stuff like
token,
Fortnite is a perfect example. Like, that game like prints money, and its target audience is children.
Yeah.
It is, but there's a lot of adults who play it.
There are a lot of adults who play it, of course, but like, of course, like, excuse me, they're not going to have like the time, obviously, but the kids will always be there to fill in that retention. They're the ones who are going to grind the game like no tomorrow.
That's true. Yeah, that's interesting.
Gaming's not a monoculture either. Like, the biggest game right now isn't the game that everyone is playing. Like, you might have Fortnite for the little kiddies, right?
Yeah.
But, like for the other adults, they have, a million other games they could play. So I don't know if it's fair to say that one game should represent like gaming, the whole industry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that'd
of
be
course
impossible.
Not, but you just use it as an example because, I mean, it still is like a popular, because you could replace it with like Call of Duty or whatever else. It doesn't matter. It's interchangeable.
I mean, surprisingly enough, the biggest games are the ones that actually appeal to the older crowds. Candy Crush dominates, absolutely crushes Fortnite and all the other games as far as user base and money brought in.
Yeah.
Candy Crush is different. That's a different beast.
I think in mobile gaming,
that's just a scamming.
Oh
yeah, I know. It's all because of China. Yeah. China's mobile gaming is so popular in China. Like, Call of Duty Mobile is another money printer in China as well. That's much bigger than I ever thought it was, but that is a big game on the phone.
And Minecraft also beats the crap out of most of the other games we talked about at this point too. Like, Fortnite can't even hold a candle to Minecraft. There's just no way.
Right.
With the amount of money that they pull in and the user base that they have. But yeah,
just the phones. Everyone has a phone, so
everyone has a phone. It's a short gameplay experience that you can feel like you accomplished something real quick at the end of your day after dealing with the kids or work or whatever. Get that kind of quick dopamine hit of finishing a level and then moving on. That you can't get with games like Fortnite or other ones very quickly. You can get there eventually, but you have to put more time into it.
Well, and think about, like, not that I would ever want it to go down this like road, but Twisted Metal would be perfect as a mobile franchise. I mean, you could literally pick it, just like that's why the PSP version of Head On felt like such a better version than the PS2 version, because they made it specifically for mobile audiences and it worked great. Where you go out, let's say you're waiting at the doctor's office. Oh, I got 5-10 minutes to spare. You could easily get through a full match in Twisted Metal in any of the games within 10 minutes. And it's like, I feel like that would be a no-brainer, like to make it a mobile version of Twisted Metal. I think that would sell really well because, again, small scale. You can have multiplayer with mobile phones now, and like Kong said, everybody has a mobile phone. So if Sony wanted to make a franchise grow in Twisted Metal, they could make two versions. They could make a mobile version, and then they could make a full-fledged either AA or AAA title on the consoles. And I think both of them would make money, but I think the mobile players would come to the console if they gave it a try.
Yeah, or
Absolutely.
you integrate them. You know, you can
Yeah.
you can do your customizations and grinding on the mobile version, which then is translated over to the the console version if you want to go that route on top of that. So
Mortal Kombat X did that with their mobile game. They had like things that you'd have the mobile version of the game, you'd play it, and then it would give you like a character's outfit on the console version or PC version.
Forgot about that. And actually, bringing up Mortal Kombat, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. Of like a one-trick pony game that's still successful these days is fighting games. Like you think about it, like the whole game is just 2D, two characters going at it till the round is over, and you win. And then they have the multiplayer aspect is what keeps those games alive. Because the story mode is great. I love the story modes in all of Mortal Kombat, and they've obviously gotten more spectacular as the years have gone on. Now they have mocap and full voice acting and all that stuff, and they're great, but they're only like 5 hours long. So once you beat the storyline, like you can't just keep redoing the storyline over and over again. It's just monotonous.
Most people just play them for the multiplayer. Usually,
right.
That's what people are playing them for.
And I feel like Twisted Metal in today's world, I think a lot of those players that are really into fighting games and stuff could potentially come back and be big fans of Twisted Metal if they treated it, I suppose, more as a fighting game, like what David Jaffe's always said, like it's a fighting game in cars. Not necessarily.
People are smart enough now to know, like it's not a fighting game. Because back then, I mean, he said that like they had like fighting game players as testers.
Yeah.
Like back then they didn't know, but now like obviously like the arena brawler thing is like it actually does have somewhat of an audience. So
yeah,
you'd want to rope those people in.
Right. I don't know. I think if they did the marketing correctly, and I think if the gameplay was engaging enough to have both hardcore audiences really enjoy it for its complexity or like a way where they can master it over time versus somebody who's also just a noob, let's say, they could pick it up and play it and have a good time as well. Now, that's
tough to find that balance.
Right. That's obviously
really,
easier
really
said
hard.
than done, but if they could pull that off successfully, whether it's a AA game or a AAA game, doesn't matter. I think it could be successful, even though it is a car combat game.
It probably could. That's what makes,
I'm sure they could.
Yeah,
that's what makes what?
Yeah, I think it makes 2012 so frustrating because I feel like it did strike that balance in the gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
But had no way to express itself.
Right.
Where pulling it off means the whole package has to work.
Yeah.
And so they got the hard part right, but they couldn't land the plane.
Right.
Yeah, it's just money. Money is the important thing as well, and the like it's always what the bottom line is of how much it would sell, or like they're gonna cater to one specific audience. Like a good example is like a game like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, as it's dubbed as. Like they just made the entire game's balancing to just like cater to bad players. Like that's what the whole game is catered towards. It's catered to new players and bad players so they can succeed and alienates anyone else. So it's like it's a fun game for them, and because that's where all the money is, because there's more casuals than there are hardcore players of anything. So they made the game's balance all around casual play. And it sucked. It's just like, especially like for me at the time when I played Call of Duty, like that's the game that made me stop playing it, because I was just like, this is stupid. Like the game is so dumbed down, I can't even bother to play this crap anymore.
Yeah.
But it obviously that doesn't matter because, I got replaced by 10 casuals, but still it's like really hard to find a balance of like pleasing both groups of people because they're just going to side where the money is.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think I agree with Nick. I think Twisted Metal could have a place in the market today. You just can't have a gigantic budget. It's got to be an A or a double A, and embracing the whole car combat. I mean, games like Rocket League, they're doing really well.
Right.
If you could do, and that's a one-off gimmick right there. Like you get customization on the cars, but it's pretty simple gameplay. And if you could kind of have that arena spectacle, maybe you have online play with weekly tournaments to determine like who is the best in that skill league.
Right.
And you could have different skill leagues that you have to kind of work your way up into, but eventually you're going to settle in a group of players that is competitive with each other, or skill wise, and you could spotlight those people and have interesting events, or maybe even give the ability for observers to throw items into the arena or something for some kind of monetization. Like here, 10 cents to throw a pack of remote bombs in there and see who gets it first. If they win using your remote bombs, then you get called out on a jumbotron. But some kind of arena-based, very budget-friendly development cycle game like that, I think would grab a lot of the audience and bring them back, as long as you don't stray too far away from Twisted Metal. Don't have racing. Don't have kart racing aspects of it. It is a fighting game, but it is more of a jousting fighting game. And as long as you keep that spirit with interesting levels and interesting environmentals, and interesting characters and cars, like I think it totally has a niche. It's never going to be the heavy hitter it was.
No.
Because it was the only game in town, being pretty new to the consoles and supported by Sony. But now there's just so much out there. The only way to compete is actually not to compete. It's to go the other route and be budget friendly, embrace the old audience, and keep it fresh with some kind of like weekly or monthly tournament. I think would give it some legs.
Well, Rocket League is probably the best example you like to come up with there, because like I'll admit that with both the PC version and the PS4 version, I've also purchased on Switch. All that together, I probably put over like 6,000 hours into Rocket League in my life, because I used to literally play it every single day. When it launched, it came out for free on PlayStation for a month, so I picked it up. And from the very beginning, I was hooked to it. So I ended up purchasing it down the road on PC because that's where my friends got it. And we literally played every single day after work. I'd get home, play for 3-4 hours, and then go to bed. And I'd rinse and repeat every day. And I probably, not only just buying the game multiple times, but the amount of money I probably put into that game just on cosmetics alone is well over like $1,000, maybe even more than that, because they added the whole system of like the loot crate stuff that eventually got taken away, where you could unlock crates by playing the game, and then you had to pay for keys to unlock the crates and hope you get something good. And then they had a whole trade system, just like Counter-Strike and all that stuff. But anyway, not that Twisted Metal needs that, but it's a great example that you can take a very small concept of just, it's 3v3, so you got 6 players in an arena. It's soccer, but with vehicles that can fly. Now you take Twisted Metal, you have an arena that can be small or medium. I don't think they need to have massive levels like we talked about with our 2012 review. I don't think the levels need to be massive. I think they need to be medium to small, have 8 characters, so 8 players at once. They join in a lobby. They choose their vehicle, their choice. I don't think in this scenario with this game, the game would not need a story. It would not need faces behind the vehicles. The vehicles would just be the character themselves, right? So that every vehicle would look different, have different stats, different special weapon, you name it. And it would drop these 8 players into the arena, and they'd fight to the death for one single victor. Whoever is left gets points on their ranking or whatever. They get trophies, and you can unlock cosmetics as you win matches. And it would be endless. That would be the whole game. It would just be this multiplayer game mode. And then they could do different game modes as well, just like Rocket League has different game modes. So they could do like the relics and stuff like that, or instead of last man standing, you could do team deathmatch, 3v3, 4v4. They wouldn't be massive. I don't think Twisted Metal needs a battle royale mode. I mean, they could try that if it is just an online only game. They could try it, but I feel like it would work best in small arenas, not necessarily just a giant level where a ton of cars go at it. But I don't know. I really do see that as a successful product if they just go away from trying to make these elaborate storylines and these elaborate single player stuff. Like, just do it fully online, just commit to it and make it a cheaper game, whether it's free to play and then they have microtransactions to make up for the profit, or just make it like $30 like they originally were going to do with 2012.
You could exploit the hell out of a Twisted Metal game with microtransactions, with nostalgia. Like, you could exploit the hell out of this franchise so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's you could do some pretty
Think
gross
of
stuff.
all the Sony
sure.
characters they could implement with skins.
It's not even just that. It's just the older car skins. They could just sell them.
Oh, that too.
And just exploit the hell out of nostalgia. Like, I mean, that's what every game does now, apparently.
I want
Seems
that Joel skin from The Last of Us 2.
The Joel automobile.
It's a giant beard on the front.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a tough pill people need to swallow. Is like, the chances of the game actually being like the older games is just like not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. There's no,
like, it's not sustainable to just drive through a tournament. Like, that shit's not acceptable anymore. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna have a base game and you're gonna do the tournaments like Nick's talking about, you could offer that as like, if you really want this, here's a mode. Like go off and do that. Here's purest Twisted Metal mode.
yeah.
But here's the modern version that Nick, proposed, where it's just like arena battles, and you're gonna bet your credits or whatever, and these are not like real world credits. They're
wager matches or something.
Yeah, they're like Marvel Snap credits, where you're generating all these credits just by playing, and they're actually not real money, but they help you level up faster, and you can bet those, and if you win, you get a bunch of them, and you can get those custom skins you wanted. And if you lose, then it just takes you a little longer to level up or whatever.
And they could always update new seasons of content. Like, let's say every 3 months is a new season, and they implement new characters. Like, here's 30 new characters to choose from, and then they would just add every character from the old Twisted Metals to make the old fans happy, and then new players like, wow, this is pretty cool. Obviously there would have to be a balancing act. They would have to be good at balancing and making sure every vehicle feels good to play and not overpowered, not underpowered, all the above. I think it is possible. It's just they would need to have a core fan base that would keep it alive and keep a sustainable income for them to keep updating it with new content. Whether that's like a battle pass system or what, but I think they could do it.
It's always the hardest part, because it would be the second reboot they would be doing. So
right.
So they'd have to like try to do something to make new players come in, because that's obviously going to be their focus. That's the point of a reboot. It's not to cater to the old fans. It's to get new people to play the game. Like, they obviously want the old fans, but new players are like the blood life. They're the ones that are going to be getting into the franchise for the first time.
Right.
So,
yeah, and that's why you'd have to make it an A or a double A. I mean, just to keep the cost down, to give it more legs until it actually got that audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it starts doing really well and making a lot of money, I mean, that's maybe when another one would come, or like a more expansive game or something would come down the line, or just keep milking the same game.
That's what Rocket League did, right? It was one mode in basic cars, and it just took off. They're just like, okay,
well,
more cosmetics.
The game's
more
so
modes.
popular now; it's free on everything now.
Well, now it's free to play, but what they did was genius. Okay, when the game first came out, it was selling for $20 on the PlayStation stores, PS only. It was a PS exclusive. But what they did that was genius is when it first launched, for the first month, it was free to play, and you got to keep it if you were a PlayStation subscriber. So they had the ability to essentially gain every single PlayStation Plus subscriber for free. It just, hey, try it out. It's not a demo. It's the full game. Like, give it a shot. And if you like it, hey, you have it now. You're an early adapter. And then once that month was up, now they have all these people, I was one of them, that have the game, but now their friends can't jump on it for free. So that now they have all this free advertisement from people, word of mouth, saying, hey, dude, this game is really great. I got it for free. It's amazing. I think it's worth $20. Go out and buy it. And I can't tell you, like, I think I got like at least 7 of my friends to buy it at that time. And then it came out on Steam like a year later, I think. and it was massively successful on Steam. Again, $20 game. And then it came out on Epic, and that's when it was $20 for like 6 months. And then Epic, who bought the game, essentially, they decided, nope, we're doing the Fortnite Battle Pass stuff. And then, so they added a Battle Pass to the game, and they made it free to play. So a lot of the people, including me, were kind of upset about that. Like, why we paid money for this game, but now anybody can jump into it? That's kind of bullshit. But it was just us being salty. But it's one of those things, like, I think it was genius for them to do that, though, is to make it free to play once they figured out a way to have a sustainable fan base that was buying enough microtransactions to make the game profitable, even without new players having to purchase it. So,
yeah. That's what Twisted Metal, it's like, please, Twisted Metal actually release on different platforms.
But they could do that for free, like on a new, like even on PS5, they could make it come out for free for PlayStation Plus subscribers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just want them to release it on every platform is what I want.
Oh, 100%.
That's obviously not going to happen.
But yeah,
that was definitely smart of them. Like, they launched a new game, they knew there was gonna be a lot of buzz. Just to check it out, people are gonna pay the $20. But when they started to see those purchases dwindle, then they move over to the free model and just do microtransactions. But by then, they probably made their development costs back, so everything there was gravy.
Right.
And anything they made on microtransactions at that point, because it was free and everybody was checking it out and had good word of mouth, then they just pumped back into making skins, new modes, cars, all that type of stuff. So that was very wise of them. And that's really cool.
Yeah. Every season with Rocket League, it was every like 3 months was a new season. They would give every player a new vehicle with that season pass or whatever it's called, the Rocket Pass. And then even if you didn't pay the $10 for the Rocket Pass, you would still gain XP and unlock certain free items throughout that Rocket Pass to keep player retention, to keep playing and winning matches. And then if you pay the $10, you get cooler skins and like cooler unlockables and stuff like that to prove like, hey, I have this money, right? Like, I bought this special pass. And then on top of that, you still had the ability to go into the store in the game and purchase like exclusive skins and exclusive vehicles. Now, the vehicles would not be exclusive with a Twisted Metal game because there's obviously balancing involved. Whereas Rocket League, every car is the exact same. They have the same hitbox, same speed. It doesn't matter.
That's where the skins come in.
Exactly. So like, in order for Twisted Metal to do the same thing without it being pay to win, you'd have to just be skins. Like, just maybe even voice packs or something, like announcer packs would be really cool.
That's where the nostalgia exploitation comes in.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal 2 Sweet Tooth. Twisted Metal 1 Minion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, I mean, go the TV series route where every single character can appear as a skin. So you can be playing against all the black characters, but you know what? You got your Small Brawl Hammerhead skin on.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Playing against them with, Sirius Black, Sweet Tooth in the driver's seat of the Small Brawl character.
That'd be
it would definitely work. Yeah, 100% would. That's definitely, like, they have a free path right there to like microtransaction sales.
Yeah. And like how I said, I take back what I said, where they wouldn't need a character behind the car. They could sell skins for the character inside the vehicle too. So like, if you die, like the character be running around and you could run them over for extra health or something like they did, in 2012. So like, you could have that as a skin where like you might not see the character when you're playing the vehicle, but if you die, you can see your character. Like, that'd be funny, like seeing Master Chief or like Kratos, like like you blow up the car and Kratos is running around on fire.
We could actually have fucking Kratos inside of Sweet Tooth and have like the Jaffe mixture. That would be great.
There's your loot crate right there.
Yeah, exactly.
It may make some people mad, but that microtransactions are 100% going to be a part of another Twisted Metal game. By the way, you can't avoid that. Like, there's nothing to even get mad about at that point because it's just going to happen.
Right.
Like,
I like that idea. If you destroy the car, you are now that character running through the field and you're trying to run to a safe zone. But if someone can run you over, they basically get the skin pack.
Well, the funny thing is they did that exact concept in that game that launched with the PS5 that people thought was Twisted Metal, and it was what was it called? Something All-Stars.
Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah, and I played that. I gave it a shot a couple months ago, and it literally was that exact concept. You picked your character who had a special vehicle. They had their own special attacks or whatever, and you're in this arena, and if your car exploded, your character would fall out of the vehicle, and you could run around, you could platform, you could like jump up on these ledges and stuff, and you could try to steal another player's vehicle, or you could try to go grab a different vehicle from like, I can't remember how they worked, but they would like spawn randomly. And if you could spawn and get in a vehicle in time, it would not count as a death. But if you got ran over while you're running around, then you would die and you'd have to respawn. So they kind of did that concept in a way, and it kind of worked, but it also was annoying because me as the player getting the kill, right? Like I shot and blew up this car, but it's not a kill to me until I run the guy over who's super quick and a little tiny person running around in this battlefield, and someone could steal your kill if they ran him over, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting. This was the exact concept for Twisted Metal World that we were going to do right after Twisted Metal Black.
Yeah.
And it was literally like cars blow up, you run out, you can run into a building, you could shoot at people driving by, but your ultimate goal is try to get into a new car. And if you did that, it did not count as a death, which is fascinating. They came to the exact same conclusion that what we were going to do.
Do you think some of those guys went from there to work on PlayStation or Destruction All Stars?
Who did Destruction All Stars? I've never played it.
Games.
Wasn't it Firesprite?
It's Lucid Games.
Oh, I thought it was Firesprite.
Let me look up Lucid. I doubt it, because all the people who are involved there would have been in Utah, and a lot of them did not move. Let's see. Lucid Games.
My understanding is Lucid Games is based in the UK, in Liverpool, I think.
Yeah.
And I think because of they developed a car combat game for the PS5, I think that's why they got rumored to be working on the next Twisted Metal game.
Yeah, that's right.
But I feel like Destruction All Stars is a great example of why car combat maybe can't thrive in the modern video game market. And I think slapping a Twisted Metal name onto that, like the brand of Twisted Metal is not strong enough to, pull that game out of the
They do with the TV show.
TV
show advertisement.
Well,
that could help.
Yeah, that could help for sure. But the problem with Destruction All Stars is the gameplay. And that was my whole point. Like if they made a Twisted Metal game, but they made the gameplay so true to the core of car combat of Twisted Metal, like 2012 was, they just took that gameplay and put it in a multiplayer focused only game, that could be successful because the gameplay is so damn good. Whereas Destruction All Stars, the gameplay was boring in my opinion. Like it had cool concept, but it was frustrating, like I stated, with like the player could run around after you destroyed the car, and you could lose out on the kill. And then there was just the actual arenas were very bland, boring, no life to them at all, and it just didn't feel like a proper car combat game. It felt kind of like they took the concept of Rocket League and they were trying to make an esport before the game was even a game, right? Like they were just like, we're gonna make this new age car combat arena based shooter, and it's gonna be the biggest thing ever. It's gonna explode, and everyone's gonna want to play it. And they, not that they were too ambitious, but I think they just it feels almost like they had an ego about it. And
well, it also it had no charm and no soul to it.
Right.
Like the aesthetic of that game, it looked like Fortnite.
Exactly.
Watered down.
It was too kiddie looking, I guess, and it looked like they had dances, like emotes you could buy for your characters, and they were like for the ending screen. Like once you won the match or the match ended, it would show the top 3 MVP players, and they would do different dances, and you could purchase different dances and shit like that. And I'm like, okay, that stuff, no, like don't do that. Do not do that stuff.
No, we need that stuff for Twisted Metal. We need to see Sweet Tooth hit the gritty really bad.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I want to see an emote of him lighting his head on fire.
That's why I just want that character in Fortnite so I can green screen a bunch of the emotes. That's all I want. I really want that so bad. I want to see Sweet Tooth doing some of those stupid emotes.
Oh my god.
Like so bad.
The default dance.
But if the game, Twisted Metal does have charm though, which I think is the strongest part of the game. Like it has something to it. Like it's a known quantity, at least when it comes to car combat. And some people might just see the clown game with cars and think it's cool. I mean, it kind of worked with 2012. I mean, obviously like the launch and other things kind of hurt that game, but in theory, 2012 could have been successful.
Yeah, and it was only
if it was on the PlayStation 4, it probably would have been.
Right.
And it had support and worked when it launched.
Yeah.
But-
If I've said this since day one, and I'll still say it. If the multiplayer was successful at launch, if it had decent servers, it didn't crash every 5 seconds, or took 3 hours to find a match, and it had disbanding lobbies, or not what was it called?
Host migration.
Host migration. If they had host migration, I think it could have easily been supported, and it would have stayed alive for quite a while. But the biggest shot in the foot was just not coming out on PS4. If they just would have waited another year, and it was a launch title on PS4, it would have easily gotten the support it needed. It would have had players regardless, because people would have bought it just to have a game for the PS4.
Yeah, it was a big mistake for them not to do that. I mean, I know that the whole PS3 development stuff is just disgusting. Console sucks to make games on, but so they probably couldn't like just switch it over with the fucking snap of their fingers. But
no,
if it sucks that it wasn't on the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
As far
It'd still
as
be around
Destruction
today.
All-Stars,
Probably.
What?
As far as Destruction All Stars?
as far as Destruction All Stars goes, Sony has a car combat franchise that, like you said, is a known quantity. And when they decided to throw money at a car combat game, they didn't go with Twisted Metal.
Which
they
was
went
dumb
with,
as hell.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be so quick to say that, Sony's just dumb. That's why they made that decision. Like something in their, market analysis or their boardroom meetings, they decided not to use Twisted Metal as their car combat game.
Well, maybe they knew the game was going to
They
suck
could be
ass.
saving it. They could be saving it for the right time, possibly.
Or I think the way I look at it now is maybe they didn't feel that confident with car combat. And so they said, okay, we want a car combat game, but we're going to make it as, lowest common denominator appealing as possible.
Right.
We're going to make it Fortnite, but in cars. Instead of using the more risky Twisted Metal, risky in quotes.
Yeah.
The Flaming Hedge Clown. It's a little more risky to have that kind of content in your game when you could just go the Fortnite route and have these soulless, charmless characters.
Well, it's a risk because if the game sucks, it will kill the IP. That's why.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. Like if they reboot Twisted Metal and it's like garbage, like it's gonna kill the IP. Like it's just gonna.
It's already dead
it's gonna
right now anyway. Minus a TV show.
Well, I think the TV show was probably their testing ground.
Well, the TV
that
show
was probably being
rumored
worked on
for years, wasn't it? Like
yeah,
the TV show.
So.
Yeah, that was
Pretty
rumored
sure.
like 4 years ago.
I think
I heard that about a years ago. Yeah.
The first TV announcement was like maybe 6 months before the Destruction All Stars came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they must have been saving that. I think.
Yeah, I don't know if Sony has much confidence in car combat or Twisted Metal as a video game. They might just be content to leave it as a TV show and say this is where it exists the best, is as a silly, post-apocalyptic romp.
I mean, as much as I love the TV show, I could never agree with them. I know you're not saying this, Drew, but I'm saying like if they are saying this from their point of view, I would never agree with them that like they think the medium of TV or a movie is the best place for Twisted Metal, because it's just like, no.
They might just not want to take the risk. I mean, with the increase of pricing games, they risk taking is just such a bad idea.
Yeah,
like
and they
with
took
how
that
expensive
risk with
video games
Destruction
are.
All Stars and not with Twisted Metal, which
I don't think Destruction All Stars was it AAA?
No, it was a
download
Twisted
only sized game.
Because they're gonna want Twisted Metal to be a AAA game. Like it's one of Sony's IPs. Like I don't see why they would try their best to figure out a way to make it AAA if they could. Because it's like they would want to sell it at a premium price because it's one of their IPs.
Yeah,
it's not just like a random thing.
Right. Have they ever? I'm trying to think. Have they ever released something that was an IP of theirs as a non-AAA title or like a non-AAA price?
Maybe like VR
Big
stuff.
Planet.
Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet was a $60 game at one point.
I mean, like the scope of the game seems small.
Yeah, I think it still was $60 though. It was still like a premium price game, right? At least on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, they all were.
And then the game kind of fell off. I think they made one on PS4, but I don't even know.
They have one on PS5, believe it or not. They're still making
it free?
No, it was full price, I think.
Oh, so maybe not. I don't know.
But yeah, I can't off the top of my head, there's probably someone in the comments right now like saying like, "Oh, it's this game." But off the top of my head, I cannot think.
It would have to be some obscure like VR, like just kind of game. Like that's all I can think of, but that doesn't count because it's a VR game
Right.
or a
Yeah.
phone game. That doesn't count either.
Yeah.
So I really can't think of one because it's just tough. Like you can look at Twisted Metal as like, oh, they can release it as a cheaper game, but they don't, like, I mean, look what they did to 2012. They did what they could to make it a $60 game.
Yeah.
So it's like they would probably just want to do that again.
Which if they did, I mean,
Helldivers 2? Is that
what?
What is it?
Helldivers 2?
That's a
What is
PlayStation
this?
IP?
It's a PlayStation IP,
I
yeah.
don't even know what that
I've
is.
never
What
heard of
is
that.
game?
What the fuck is that?
Helldivers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying like is it's a first party Sony game that's not $60.
Mm.
I've never even heard of that.
I've
before.
never heard of that
Really?
either.
I don't know what that is. Well, maybe we should specify a well-known IP. Maybe there's some like obscure stuff, but like I think Twisted Metal is probably like at least well-known.
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Well,
Destruction All Stars was that $60 when it came out? I feel like it was 30 and they made it free
No.
after.
Yeah, it was,
No,
it
it
was
was-
30.
Was it 30? I thought it was the full 70.
No, I don't think so.
No, it
I
would've
could
been
be
60
let me
They
or
look
sold
it
it
up.
full price. They within a month they made it free.
That's a good sign right there. The game's doing
That's
really well. It's
confidence.
kicking ass on the market.
Okay,
For
so
sure.
here's how it worked. It did launch at $70 and then went down to 60 and then down to $20 within like a couple
The
months.
game received a paid
My
digital release on
God.
April
That's what I
6,
call a game.
2021
Holy
for
shit.
$20 and a physical release later on April 7th. I see $20. Where are you seeing 70?
I don't know. It says on here Sony revealed the game would retail at $69.99 at launch.
Yeah, it was what was it the wiki for it? And it was
Does feel a
revealed it
little
was
like
going to
a
be
free-to-play
$70. It was right when Sony was rolling out the selling games for $70.
Let's see. Yeah, September 2020. Game would retail at 70 at launch. Departure from the 60 industry. Game will be supported with new content. Blah, blah, blah. The
Is it
release
still
of the
around?
game. The game
It's
received a
still
paid
around.
digital release on April 6, 2021.
Like,
So does that
still
mean it
gets
like
updated?
does that mean it released at $70 in 2020 and then it dropped to $20 in 2021? Or did
Sounds
it
about
release
right.
in
Possibly.
2021?
That's really bad if that's the
It
case. though.
sounds like they wanted to sell it full price to try to maybe like get as much money from like curious people as possible.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
when
Okay.
they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I got the answer.
Yeah,
here. So it
because
released in
it was
February of
2021,
2021 for $20. So it was not a full price release. But Sony originally wanted it to be.
So wild.
And then
That's
Kong
a
was
lot.
The
right.
fact
It
that
went
it
to free to
failed
play like a
for
month
being a
later.
launch game almost.
That's not a good sign.
That's a good point, Winters. Like for it to be a launch title when there's no other games to buy on that console and it still couldn't sell, that's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was that.
Well,
and,
It's
Demon's
that's a
Souls at the
gray
time.
area though because I mean,
But it was a
What-
weird
what-
time though. It's
most
like,
people PS5 is not backwards compatible with PS4 games, is it?
It is.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It
so
is.
yeah, that's one of the reasons it's gonna hurt it because no one's gonna buy any. They just bought the console
Yeah.
because
Well,
it was
the
so hard to
problem
find
is-
it anyways. I mean, like
yeah, nobody could reasonably find a console at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Winters there. That was probably the biggest like the game itself is not that great. I'm not going to give them any passes there. The game still sucks. But I do think it still should have sold better just because it was on a new console, but the fact that the consoles themselves were so hard to find for the first year and a half of its release, like
Yeah.
that would have been Twisted Metal's luck right there, honestly. If Twisted Metal came out on the PS5 at launch, like, oh great, this is what we should have had in 2012. Thank God we're finally getting a launch title. But then the consoles you can't fucking find for 2 years, so no one played it.
yeah,
But there
That-
were launch
sucks.
titles that did sell fairly well. Like I think to say that not enough people had a PS5.
Which
Like-
titles?
well, maybe in comparison to yeah,
'Cause I don't remember. I
like-
honestly don't remember what games came out with the PS5.
Demons wasn't it like the
I just
Demon
looked at
Souls remake?
Demon Souls.
That was on there.
Miles
which is a
Morales
remake.
was it was PS4 and PS5.
Oh,
Godfall, whatever the fuck that is. I think Ratchet and Clank was around that time. Rift
No,
Apart?
it came out later.
How much later?
like a year.
I think at least a year.
Because
Yeah.
I think Destruction All Stars wasn't a launch title. I think it was around the same time as Rift Apart.
Yeah, it was
in February that
2021.
it came out.
Yeah.
Right. And then PS5 came out in December, whatever it was, November.
Was it
Mhm.
2020 when the PS5 launched, or 2019?
It was November 2020.
Ratchet and Clank Rift
Wow.
Apart came
was
out
June.
in
Came out in June.
Eh,
June.
it's hard to call it a
Really?
launch title if kind of the summer after.
Weird.
I don't know.
You say the
Yeah.
PS5 came out in June, you said?
No, PS5
Oh,
came
No,
out
the
Ratchet
November
and Clank Rift
2020.
Apart, June
Oh, okay.
2021.
Yep.
But the PS5 came out
I was gonna say.
November
I was gonna say
of
that's
2020.
it'd have to be. I thought it would be December.
Yeah,
or
All Stars
November
was 2021. I'm looking at Lucid. They used to be Bizarre Creations, and they tried to sell themselves to Activision.
Oh,
Or actually,
Wait, they were
was the-
bizarre, really?
yeah, they're Bizarre Creations.
Holy shit!
Parent company Activision had sought to sell the studio, but was unsuccessful in finding a buyer.
what?
So all the heads split off to form Lucid, and all the games I'm looking at, they had some interesting ones, but none of this says take over the Twisted Metal license. Because it's like Travel Bug and Jacob Jones and the Bigfoot Mystery, 2K Drive
Jacob Jones
my
and the
favorite.
Bigfoot Mystery. Yeah,
for
hidden classic game.
iOS,
They had a
iFruit,
lot of
which I
mobile
assume,
games under their belt too.
yeah, I assume iFruit was like a Fruit Ninja ripoff.
Oh.
PlayStation Vita Pets for iOS. Another Jacob Jones and the Bigfoot
Jesus
Mystery Episode 2.
They make
Wow.
some banger ass games. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Geometry
never heard of these
Wars. Goat Simulator was actually a hit, and so was Geometry Wars.
Oh, they
Wars.
made-
Wait,
Wait,
they
they
made
made-
Goat Simulator?
They
Wait,
made
they're the ones
Goat
who made it?
Simulator.
Oh my god.
That's what it
and
says
Geometry
here.
Outta
No,
here.
no, they didn't make Goat Simulator. I think they might have made a
Oh.
port for it. Goat Simulator is Coffee Stain Studios.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is
'Cause
it?
I was gonna say Geometry Wars is owned by
Oh.
Activision. That game,
Yeah.
that game is owned by
Yeah.
Activision.
They worked
I know
on
that.
3,
But
but
Bizarre
not 1 and
Creations was the
2.
original developer of Geometry Wars, and so I think when Lucid became a thing, Activision wanted them to make a Geometry Wars once again.
I see, because they have it for PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox, and 360 and Xbox One. So yeah, they're a
Yeah.
port house. They're literally a
Oh,
port house all the way through, up until
Porterhouse.
we're going on a bear hunt. iOS, Switchblade,
Going on a
PlayStation 4.
bear hunt.
I don't know what that is. Happy Donuts, iOS.
Happy Donuts.
So
They went from making a ton of mobile games to like here's a launch PS5 title. Let's do that.
yeah,
I wonder if it was
2020
supposed to be a mobile game at one point. I really wonder.
Maybe.
It's
That would
Destruction
be-
All Stars.
Lightning.
It kind of
Um,
makes me wonder. I mean, wasn't it with the GTA trilogy? Weren't those ports of mobile games as well?
Pretty
It's like
much.
a little off topic, but it's like they just ported the mobile game over to console. So it wouldn't shock me if Destruction All Stars was supposed to be a mobile game and they just put it on console to put
Yeah.
it as a $70 title.
Maybe.
So
If
Destruction
Rockstar is going to
All-Stars-
do it, anyone will.
Yeah, so 2018 Switchblade, whatever the hell that is, was PlayStation 4. Then PlayStation 5 was Destruction All Stars. Then Sea of Thieves, which I assume was a port house from them
Yeah.
because they did
What are they
Xbox
ported on?
One.
They're a support studio, is what they're labeled as.
Yeah,
for that
Xbox One, Xbox Series XS. Those are what they did Sea of Thieves for. So
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
Sea of
Rare
Thieves
game.
is Rare. It's
Rare.
like the main
Yeah.
developer is Rare, and then I
Yep.
guess Lucid is contracted to do some smaller projects on that game.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there's no way in hell that Sony's going to give them Twisted Metal. I'm
No.
sorry, but that's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
Well,
Probably
is
not.
Lucid owned by Sony? Because if they're working on
No.
Sea of Thieves, that is like very clearly Microsoft.
Yeah.
No,
so-
every single title they have is almost a different publisher. So they're strictly a port house in the UK, porting everybody else's games to different consoles.
Okay.
So they're not owned by anybody. They seem to be independent, from what I can tell here.
Yeah.
And so what we saw, the rumors that were saying that Lucid Games was the one working on the new Twisted Metal,
Mm-hmm.
about a year after that rumor came out, another rumor said, "Hey, Sony moved the project from Lucid over to Firesprite Studios," and
Yeah,
that's
which-
kind of where it's at right now.
Where
And Firesprite, their track record is not that impressive either.
Didn't they all
And
just
they
get
also had a lot of
fired?
layoffs. They had a lot of layoffs.
Right.
As well.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the
Right.
last episode before.
They laid off
So-
100 people over there, which is not good. And I believe they are owned by Sony, unlike Lucid.
They are, yeah, they're a first
Okay.
party Sony.
But they've only been known for like their VR games, right?
They made a couple of like the tech demo games for like
Yeah.
PS4, PS5, so like the Playroom
Mm-hmm.
and the Playroom VR, of course.
Yep.
So they haven't really had a game that feels like a real game. They all feel like just like hey, look at this cool tech that we have. We want to show off our cool tech.
Sounds like Tony. It sounds like Sony. Yeah.
That is a Sony
Right.
thing. But if they got their hands on Twisted Metal, that shit's not coming anytime soon. If
Well, we
after they
know-
got those layoffs,
We
But
will
Sweet
say
Tooth's
this.
homeless
Like,
right now.
we will say
those
that
layoffs
like
are not good.
if they're making the Twisted Metal, The game might suck total ass, but we know it'll look beautiful.
Maybe.
That's
I
fine.
mean, that's all that matters to Sony sometimes.
Yeah.
Look
What
how
if-
cool our game is.
What if the new Twisted Metal is it's Destruction All Stars, but you buy like a $20 like theme pack and it just plasters Twisted Metal over like Destruction All Stars. The exact
That's
same
a game. That would be
just
the
with
game.
the Twisted
I-
Metal skin.
I
Call of
would.
Duty does it. So like we can do it with Twisted Metal as well.
I mean, yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. Modern Warfare 3 is just like a reskin Modern Warfare 2 pretty much. It's a better
Yeah.
version of the
Yeah.
game, but it should not have been $70.
Yep.
So,
So it was supposed to be DLC,
mhm.
but they just sold it as a full price game.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
I'm looking at Fire Sprite's rap sheet here. It's not looking good. It's Run Sackboy Run, which obviously is a
Oh, they've been working. They're working on Little Big Planet stuff.
iOS
Nice.
port for Big Planet stuff. They worked on the PlayStation camera for PlayStation 4.
What?
I didn't even know the
Um,
PlayStation 4 had one.
I have
thought
one.
they
had
Games. I
one
have
up.
it.
They were competing
One
with
VR
Mac.
game. The
tech review
PlayStation
video right
VR
there.
room.
Is it still good in 2023?
Is it still good to buy the camera? Should
The
you take
persistence?
selfies?
What the hell is the persistence? But they ported it to
Oh.
five, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
The
6,
persistence.
7 consoles.
It looks like it was a PS4 VR game, and then they just ported it to modern consoles afterwards.
Oh.
I never.
They
heard of
also
that
did
game either.
Horizon Call of the Mountain, PlayStation 5 with PlayStation VR 2,
Yep.
with co-developed with Guerrilla Games. These people are not going to be making a Twisted Metal ever. There's nothing on their resume. They're basically Sony's cleanup boys.
Right. That's what I've been
Um,
saying. Like, I don't understand why
this
people
is-
think
Yeah,
Fire
that's-
Sprite was making it because there's no.
That was
way.
just a
It's not.
rumor that's been spreading around. It was like some sort of like journalist leak.
Well, Jaffe
like,
brought
a
it
year or
up,
two
didn't he?
ago.
I thought he was
Yeah,
the one who
Jaffe-
said that.
He didn't say
Well, you know,
Fire Sprite, but
He did say Fire
said it-
Sprite.
No, he
there
did.
was some there's like
Oh, he
some
did?
press release that, or it got leaked out, I guess. That was like a Sony announcement or internal document, whatever.
Yeah.
It had Lucid Games was on there, Fire Sprite was on there, working on a Project Red Star.
It
And
was,
Jaffe's like, I don't know much about the project, but Project Red Star is Twisted Metal. I'm telling you guys, it's Twisted Metal.
that bastard. If he's
Well, it
lying
said,
about it,
I remember
that's-
that video because he posted a screenshot of it, and it was like a Word document almost, and it showed Fire Sprite, and like across from it, it said Car Combat Game.
Right.
So that's why he was just assuming it must be Twisted Metal.
There was a job listing on Fire Sprite's website. I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Goodrich. I think I brought it up to you once, but there was a job listing on their website that says there was some, AAA multiplayer focused Unreal Engine 5 game that would have, it's like a legacy Sony game. They called it like it's a storied history game, and they mentioned specifically car combat and also VR,
And
which
that
is
was
strange.
that was
But I think
Fire
that's why
Sprite?
that was Fire Sprite. I don't think that listing is on their website anymore because they had all those layoffs, but
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
I'm
not.
sure there might be a screenshot somewhere. But I think a lot of people took the rumor from the journalist. They saw Jaffe being a fucking clown, and then they saw that job listing, and they just sort of said that, okay, we corroborated the rumor. There is a Twisted Metal game coming out of England from Fire
Mhm.
Sprite.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking at
don't
the
think the
jobs right
quality would
now.
be very good. Looking at
They've
that.
got multiplayer designer.
Wait, they're
lead
hiring
technical-
still?
They have, art director, lead technical level designer, associate development director. It has multiplayer action, a lot of dark horror
Oh.
as
Sounds
a
like Twisted Metal
genre
Black to
here.
me.
Dark
Mm,
horror.
dark
I mean, I don't know
horror,
about the
dark
horror
horror.
part, but
And no color.
yeah.
Well, Black. I
Multiplayer
mean,
action.
Even them browns and grays.
the TV show would be dark horror.
yeah. Well,
I think
no, that'd be
would
dark
considered
comedy.
horror. Or I mean, not dark horror, fucking dark comedy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But dark horror, I mean, that was pretty much Twisted Metal Black, honestly. Like, looking at it today, obviously we can laugh at it, but
I don't think they wouldn't deviate from the TV show. They'd want it to be in the same vein because they could just use each platform to advertise the other.
yeah, I
Like they could
agree.
just they could just use the game to advertise the show, and
But that's
way
all
around.
assuming it's going to be some type of single player game, like with multiplayer. I really, really like if there is a TM game being worked on right now, I would bet $1 billion it's going to be a multiplayer only game. I don't understand.
It probably would be because microtransactions. You got to pump the money in there. You got to get those the gas pass or whatever they're gonna call it. Like, I don't fucking know.
Right.
So I did find the drop listing on Firesprite. It's still up. The one that people were connecting
really?
to Twisted Metal. So
He's
it's
always
for
filled
lead,
up with the gas pass.
it's a lead technical level designer for a multiplayer action game. And part of the listing says this bold project aims to break new ground, blending genre transcending gameplay mechanics around vehicular and on-foot combat, and deeply embedding them into a unique gameplay environment as part of a unique and vibrant universe. We're building an elite, diverse first-party team, and this is your opportunity to help shape the future, blah, 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 blah. But I think people took the vehicular and on-foot combat to mean Twisted Metal.
Interesting. Does it say when that was published? Like,
not that I can tell, but it's
usually
been around at least a year now. It's been up a while.
It's kind of wild.
They might have just forgot about it. They might have just,
well, they just laid off 100
website.
people. I don't think they're actually hiring anymore.
Yeah, right.
Probably not. They're getting downsized. I mean, the Game Awards will be the place. If there's no announcement at the Game Awards, I don't think it would be coming anytime soon.
No.
Plus, every other company is going to be worried because GTA 6 is coming, and they want to avoid that.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to release around that game because it's going to take all your players away. All of your players are going to be playing that game, so it's really risky. You don't want to risk release it around that if you can help it.
You say that, and then like it's gonna fucking happen. We're getting new Twisted Metal, but it's gonna launch the same day as GTA 6.
Possibly, it's not a good idea.
Titanfall 3.
No game on this earth will ever compete with that game. So it's just you don't.
What about Half-Life 3?
Half-Life 3.
What if Half-Life 3 and GTA 6 came out on the same day? Which one would do better?
GTA 6
Left 4 Dead 3.
Definitely overtake it. GTA 6 has way more
Portal
like
3.
a casual audience. Like people who aren't even gamers play GTA 6, or play GTA. So it's like they would probably just buy the game.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I don't know. Game Awards would be the place they'd at least announce it or show a teaser or something.
Yeah, I could easily see that. It's just I don't know, man. The fact that we didn't get anything on like the last PlayStation, what is that called? Like the PlayStation Now.
I thought it was State of Play. That was I almost fell asleep during that.
Yeah, that shit was terrible. And it's like if the fact that we didn't get anything there, that was kind of to me the nail in the coffin of saying, well, we're probably not getting something for at least like 3 years, maybe.
No.
Well, that's why I always say Game Awards. I think Game Awards would be a better place to do it than State of Play.
Well, it's more eyes on it for sure, but the problem is the money that would be involved to put it on there. I would assume it would cost more than like having Sony just for free put it in their State of Play. But who knows?
I think their State of Play is for like smaller projects and like updates, right?
No, they announced. I want to say the last State of Play they announced. Well, not the last one, but there was a State of Play recently. In the last couple of years, they announced the new God of War in a State of Play.
Wasn't that one of their bigger events? They have like a big one, and they have a bunch of smaller ones.
Do they?
Throughout the year, I think there's like a big one they do.
Well, State of Play used to be just one yearly because that's where they announced the PS5 too. As State of Play.
I'm pretty sure they do it more often than that now.
Yeah, now they do, but they used to only do it once a year, I think. And I think that might be what you're thinking of.
I'd have to see because I know they did one like in May and August and September. I think they do it pretty often. It seems like.
Yeah. At least now they have been, and yeah, I think you're right that they're basing them more around indie titles, more than anything, and like small updates and stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
So I feel like you want to make your big splash at a Game Awards or what used to be E3. Like that's where you want to make that's where all the eyeballs are.
Right. And that was what was it? Summer Games Con or whatever.
Summer Games Fest.
Yeah. That was that's like the new E3 essentially. And they didn't have anything there either, which was a big bummer.
Yeah.
Well,
so
no,
I think
they had the teaser for the TV show. They had the famous song.
Yeah, that's right. The worst marketing of all time. I don't know why they did that. Why they thought that was like the
I think it was genius.
I think it was too. It got so many people talking about the show.
Like this is the worst thing I've ever seen. They're showing like Sweet Tooth fucking twerking or whatever.
Yeah. It was a genius idea.
How bad can the show be?
And this TV show was successful, so
that
did really well.
And joke's on you, man. People love
Funny,
the
you know
Sweet
what's
Tooth.
funny too is apparently Five
really
Nights at
yanked our chain.
Freddy's has made the show even more successful
How come?
because they released Five Nights at Freddy's on Peacock the same day it went out in theaters. So a lot of people like me stayed home and watched it on Peacock, and then like
Oh,
as
yeah,
soon as
it's
as soon as the movie ends, it pops up like, what do you want to watch next? And Twisted Metal is #1 thing.
Damn.
I mean, it's one of the top shows on Peacock, so it makes
Right.
sense. I mean, I actually resubscribed for like WWE stuff that I was watching the other day, so I had to
Nice.
watch a couple old matches. So
Yeah. So yeah, that brought a lot of
It's
new
good.
eyes to it.
I didn't know WWE was absorbed by Peacock, but or they sold it. They got rid of the network and put it on Peacock. But
I
Yeah.
think Peacock's just gonna rule the world someday, man.
It's getting
Gobble
I mean,
it all.
it's
bigger.
honest. It has some good stuff on there. I mean, like it's not like
They got The
Peacock's a
Office.
crappy service. They have a couple of good shows on there.
Pretty decent.
It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's still like it's not a bad service. There's no need
Yeah.
to downplay it.
And apparently they're still losing money.
I
don't
know
know-
it,
I don't know
sucks.
how, but
I think NBC is the company that owns it, and I'm pretty sure they're just a piece of shit company. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
So, pretty
Yeah.
sure.
I feel like every
Sweet
streaming
Tooth.
service is losing money.
Versus Triple H.
Sweet Tooth. At WWE 2K23, you can make that happen. so I mean, possible. If
Yeah.
the system works, didn't work for me though.
It's the return of the budget titles. You don't need a ton of money to make a success now.
It
true.
may be. I mean, it's the world of remasters as well, like exploitation and
Nostalgia bait. and all
silliness.
that.
Oh yeah,
Just,
absolutely.
Last of Us Part 2 remastered for PS5.
That's what I call a real video
So
game right there.
wild.
True
That's-
experience.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
3-4 years ago.
I know.
And it's not even a good game.
And dupe. But
Got
it's cheap to
crucified,
remaster
wow.
it.
Nope.
You only need
Yeah.
a couple of artists. You don't need a full team to make that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the bonus there. But yeah, I was looking at Fire Sprite, and it looks like some people via my LinkedIn moved from Santa Monica over to Fire Sprite like a year ago,
They went
which is
overseas.
interesting. Remote. It looks like
Oh.
they moved over to Fire Sprite from Santa Monica Studios, it looks like they're remote,
That's cool.
which is interesting.
Oh.
So I wonder what they're up to. What's a dark horror that's being worked on over there?
right.
I want to say one thing about Lucid is that I know we kind of bash on them for their track record of games, but I do want to say that if they're people from Bizarre Creations, if that's the same developers, they made some absolute amazing like car games with Blur, Project Gotham Racing.
Oh, they made Blur.
Like, they made Blur, yeah, and so I would really trust them with Twisted Metal. I think if that's the same group of people.
Well, I guess but it is different when you're trying to convert a racing game into Twisted Metal.
Yeah, those are completely different beasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're different games, I guess, but they're quality games. I suppose is what I'm getting at.
They put a lot of passion into them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
And,
that.
I mean, they're based around cars. There's car combat, but yeah, it's a different type of game, Twisted Metal. But
Yeah.
I think if you're a talented group of people who are creative and passionate, I
Right.
think you could probably put together something regardless of the genre.
Just have the
I'm sure
Rocket
maybe
League guys
Rich can
make Twisted
attest to
Metal.
that.
I mean, I don't know about
Yeah, why
that. I
not?
mean, so there's some games out there that in the past that like have been made by talented people. Like I think Mortal Kombat Mythology is a perfect example of that. Of talented people making a game that's a piece of shit.
They want to make the game.
it's
I
like
think passionate has to go into it too. Like your talent means nothing if you don't care about what you're working on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If
I
it was
mean,
just
they may have been
publisher
trying.
saying,
I
go
mean,
make it.
Take Head On,
Some-
for instance.
yeah.
Right.
You want to look in Twisted Metal?
They didn't give a
absolutely.
fuck about that, and it came out pretty mid.
You know, like Bethesda, I adore them. I'm not sure how other people feel, but like Fallout 76 was terrible. It was an awful game,
Oh god.
you know, but I
Yep.
do admire them a lot as developers.
Yeah.
They made some hood classics for sure.
Like, you can be a good person and do bad things. I get it.
That's true.
Standing next to you.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I guess it depends on the people. You know, if they have the heart, then maybe.
Yeah.
But if somebody just like plopped Twisted Metal on their desk one day and said, "Hey, go do this," I mean, I don't know how well that would turn out.
One thing that's really crazy
That's
is
the
like
fun
what Kong
part,
was
doesn't it?
bringing up the point about like nostalgia bait and like it's the world of remasters right now, remakes. Why wouldn't it just be easy money for them just to remake like Twisted Metal 2? Like just a full like shot for shot remake of it with a new engine?
I
how
mean,
hard would that be,
maybe, but
really?
how popular would it be now is the thing. Like,
I don't
It'd
know.
be cheap. Like it wouldn't
How
have
big
to
It would be
that
cheap,
popular.
so they wouldn't
Like,
lose
they
money.
re-released it. That's the thing, is that that's all they're gonna do. It's even cheaper than remastering it. It's just re-releasing it, which they did.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's
I mean,
not
the
that
game's almost
cheap.
30 years old. I don't think.
What was it, Goodrich?
It won't be that cheap to remake the game like that.
No.
And they don't
Unless
have
they
the
could-
source code anymore.
No,
Well, they would have
don't.
to be a whole new engine. Like
It'd
it would
be
be
ground up.
created from the
Twisted
ground
Metal
up,
3 and 4. Let's do it, boys. Yes.
Like fucking
Yeah.
Medieval got a remake. I don't even
which is
know what Medieval
amazing.
is,
I love that.
Medieval's
game.
a beast. That game's actually an underrated little classic
It's
game.
great.
but
and
they
the remake
felt
was
confident
amazing.
enough with that to remake it. So why not Twisted Metal 2?
Yeah, I agree.
That's my question. Why not Twisted Metal 2?
Maybe.
Yeah, they got to figure out. I mean, okay, so you don't have the engine, so you got to go in. You got to remake the engine. You have to port it to the current console. You need marketing. You need programmers.
hmm
Something's going to go wrong with art, so they're going to have art people in there. It's probably some design issues. They're going to have to go like you're going to pull in a full team. Like you know, it's not going to be as big as making it from
Ooh,
scratch,
that
but it's
game.
going to be a lot of work to do it.
Yeah.
Really? This motherfucker?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's Sir Daniel Fortescue.
Oh yeah, medieval.
how
I
he-
remember that.
I think he's got like one eye.
You've never played that, Winners?
Yeah,
Surprisingly, no, I haven't.
Oh my
Is that
God.
a PS1 game?
I think you would like it.
yeah, it's a PS1 game. It's pretty good. It's a classic
Oh,
game.
shit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add that to a list of games to stream once I switch over to that new job.
Yes.
It's really fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, games like that getting like it's a good point that Drew brought up is Medieval was not a big franchise. They only had 2 games, I think, Medieval 1 and 2. And then they made another one on PSP that actually was horrible. It did really bad in sales, and I remember the controls were terrible. And that was the last we saw of Medieval for a very long time. And then out of nowhere, what was it, like 3 years ago now? Because I don't think it came out on. It's on PS5 now, but it released before the PS5, I think, if I remember right. Because I got it on PS4, the remake.
Mhm.
And I remember like when there was rumors of the remake coming out, I even said to myself, I was like, Medieval getting a remake. Like, are they rebooting it? Like the series? But no, it's straight up a 1-to-1 remake. Like it's literally everything the original game was, just upscaled, brand new engine, new graphics. They even brought over all the original voice lines and sound effects and everything, just like upscaled and like remastered sounds. And it's amazing. Like it's perfect. But it's just like they had the money and the resources and time to do that for Medieval, which is again a one-off game that like nobody knows. So why couldn't they do something like that for Twist Metal 2? Or
Yeah, they
even the
could.
first
It won't
Twisted
be
Metal?
free. It won't be free, but they could do it. They could absolutely do it, and
Yeah.
for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
And
There's
less
a
risk.
reason.
I think it's easy to say that Twisted Metal 2 would sell if it got remade. I don't think that's
Oh,
too
it
big
would
of a swing.
easily.
It would, yeah. It would. There must be some reason that they just don't want to do it. I don't know what that reason is, but there's a reason they're not doing it. But
You think out of spite for Jaffe?
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't want to make him
No.
happy?
no, I don't think
No.
they don't care about what he thinks. They don't care. Like if it's something's gonna make money, they don't care about what he says.
I hope
Maybe
so.
they just hate money. Maybe they just don't like it.
They hate
I
money.
think
Bring
it's
the money. They say, "No, I'm good. Keep it."
it's pure money. It's
Like
they don't feel like they're going to get the return on investment for this.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I
the only
think
reason why.
But then why make the Medieval
And then,
remake?
then exactly.
Like
Well,
maybe
more
they
games,
just wanted to
too.
stem it into media. Like I think maybe the TV show is the direction they want to take the IP into.
maybe.
And just like
Um,
keep it there.
Do you know who did the remaster on it? Was it an outside studio that was super cheap, and they approached them and said, "Hey, we would do this"?
Let me
I'll
look
tell
it
you
up.
what the
right now.
re-releases of Twisted Metal
Other
2?
Ocean Interactive
Other Ocean Interactive.
I've heard of them before. I've heard of that team.
founded
Other Ocean?
And Blue Point as
2006.
well. I don't know if Blue Point ever got bought out by Sony, but they work with them pretty closely, and they made the Demon Souls remake. So Sony has multiple studios that they work with for this specific reason. They probably got it down to a science, I would imagine.
They made a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh
Interesting,
games.
pretty good at it.
They've been around
Yeah.
since 2006. Wow.
Yeah.
What games have they made? They made Super Monkey Ball on the iPhone.
Oh, good for them.
A lot of okay,
Wow.
so iPhone, Nintendo DS,
Amazing Spider-Man on
Xbox
the
Live
Nintendo DS.
Arcade. Ooh, they made Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection.
What a game.
Did. I mean, that's not a good one. They fucked up a lot in that. they really did.
Damn.
Some of the move lists aren't even right.
Hmm.
They-
Yeah, a lot
there's
of these
couple
are
mistakes in there,
iOS
but-
games.
They also made. Oh, they did the Minecraft for new Nintendo 3DS
Mhm.
edition.
Damn.
So why would they remake this
2017?
game?
Why'd they remake what?
Medieval.
I don't know.
Is it possible that one of the old Medieval guys is actually on that team and he brought it up and that's how he got it championed?
Maybe. Yeah, it was
They just-
2019. It was a year before the PlayStation
It's
5
your
came out.
nepotism.
Well, more like I have the experience. I know what this game is.
Mm.
In the same
I-
year, they released Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of Duelist on Nintendo Switch.
What a game.
Minecraft New Nintendo 3DS Edition was the
Like
game
Hump?
previously. Cloudy Mountain and Night Stalker, as they're working out right now.
I guess I just don't see what reason Sony had to believe that Medieval would
For
sell
the
well.
Intellivision Amico.
Maybe the
What?
wiki
Who
says something.
put
about
money
it.
into
Like, what a
that?
console.
Wait,
Medieval
thing?
Remake was first
Yes,
announced
that's
as a
the thing that Tommy
remaster.
Tallarico was working on, and he scammed a bunch of people out of money. Yeah, that's the Intellivision Amico was supposed to be a bring back to the original console, but he took a bunch of pre-orders and the console never came out. But that's a different story.
Oh,
When the
God.
PS5 came out, they had Astro's Playroom as like the tech demo game. And
Oh, I love that game.
Medieval got referenced in Astro's Playroom. And I don't remember
That's why it
seeing a
got
single
remade.
Twisted Metal reference in there at all.
No.
I know, no
That's gotta suck,
references,
man.
no references, no game. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Like, if you
it seemed like they had every game, even like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy.
Jack and Daxter
But-
was in there, and they haven't done a
Yeah,
Jack,
Jack
and
and
Daxter in like
Daxter-
what 15 years.
Was Jack X the last one?
I think it was The Lost Frontier was the last one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Wait, The Lost Frontier? That was my game.
Was that the last Jack and Dexter?
That was for PSP. That was we made the PSP version, then we outsourced the PS2 version to be ported.
Mm-hmm.
Was it those guys?
Was it? No, it wasn't. No, I was just saying that Astro's Playroom has a reference of Jack and Daxter, and that hasn't had an entry in, over a decade.
Oh, okay.
And
I
we're
thought you
wondering
said
if the one you worked on was the most recent Jack and Daxter.
The Last Frontier. Yeah. Sadly, yes.
Thanks a lot, Goodrich.
What a send off.
I was
Killed
also
another
curious.
franchise.
I was also curious to see what the sales were like for that Medieval remake. It says in the United Kingdom, Medieval was the 5th best-selling game in its first week of release.
Get the
On
fuck
November 5th
out of here.
That's
Dang.
what I'm
of
talking about.
2019, Medieval was listed as the 3rd best-selling game of the week in a chart in the combined
What?
download and retail encompassing 43 countries.
What the fuck?
That's what
TM2
I'm
was
saying. That's why they
crushed that.
fucking re-released it because it's the best game ever.
So I
That's
guess
why.
it had fans, man. I mean,
It
I was
does.
one of them. I bought it.
Medieval's a pretty popular game. A lot of people have fond memories of playing that.
Yeah. But so same with Twisted Metal, though. I mean, like, I think if they made a remake of TM2, I think it would sell.
It would crush.
would.
It would crush.
I mean, I don't know about Crush, but it's. I think it would do fine. I mean, it would definitely sell. I just don't know what their reasoning is for not wanting to do it.
There's
Like,
so many games.
They
man,
must
don't
just
wanna
not.
do.
They must just be like this.
They
Think
just
the
hate
game's
money,
just not
man.
gonna make money. Like I don't know.
Still waiting on a
Here's
siphon
what I
filter.
think. I think that Sony, they want to preserve the artistic integrity of Twisted Metal. They don't want
What?
to taint it with,
Yeah, okay.
upscale
They don't want.
graphics.
They don't want to open up the timelines.
I
Maybe
don't
they're trying to
know.
protect it from microtransactions.
They don't want-
Maybe they don't want to taint the series and they don't want Sweet Tooth to get mad, so they
They don't want.
they want to
Wolf
protect
Lore.
it.
They don't want
They
Sweet
don't want-
Tooth pulling out the gritty.
Yeah, they don't want to hurt him. They don't want to make
Well-
people upset.
When Jaffe worked for Sony, he had a contract with them, and one of the clauses said that Sweet Tooth could never twerk in a video game.
What?
And you can't break that contract. So if they
He
were to
twerks
make
in
a
real
game-
life.
Yeah, I know he did it in real life,
Well,
though.
the real life version is fine. It's the video game version is
Oh.
what matters.
All right.
Okay.
And so if he does that in a game, then Jaffe's going to sue them for many, many monies. And I think Sony doesn't want the heat, so you gotta
Yeah.
lay off.
I mean, I could see that, but there's microtransactions without the ability to twerk.
No, they go hand in hand. It wouldn't work if you didn't do that.
they need twerking to be my
You can't have one
They
without
need
the
it.
other.
They need it. It's
Like every breath, you need to breathe in and breathe out. You can't just do one. You got to do both.
right. I don't know. It is weird. It is interesting to think of like Sony as a publisher, their mindset of like, why haven't they thought of this? I think it'd be easy money, but there's a lot of decisions they make where it feels like they just like throwing money in a fireplace and they don't care.
Yeah, they're just gonna keep re-releasing The Last of Us.
Well, that's what, yeah, like, let's put our
The Last of
money
Us
into
Part 1 remastered
re-releasing The Last of
final.
Us 32 times, re-releasing Last of Us 2 twice now, but we're not going to bring back our literal oldest IP that still has a pretty dedicated fan base and now a TV show that's being pretty successful. It's like, bro, what are you doing?
What else do you need?
Right. Doesn't make sense. And even Rocket League kind of brought back Resurgence to Twisted Metal. I remember when they had the skin, they have a Sweet Tooth skin in that game.
Yes,
And
they do.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember when that released, like that skin came out, everybody that I worked with at the time that was playing Rocket League, they were like, holy shit, they added the Sweet Tooth skin, man. I remember those games. And I was like, no way. And I got home and I got the skin immediately. And it was so cool seeing that in this gigantic game that at the time, I think peak player was probably like 100,000 players. Like it was huge.
Wow.
And like seeing that Sweet Tooth was in that game, it showed that it's got a market. Like there's people who know of it. Even if they don't remember it, once they see the clown, they immediately remember like, oh, I played that game as a kid.
Everything revolves around the clown.
It is it is
that's
sad though. Like I mean, I kind of wish Axel would have been the main powerhouse. Like I like Sweet Tooth, I like Niels Gane, but I think Axel is kind of cooler. I like his design, but
yeah, he is. I think he's like really just unique character. But I mean, even Jim said like it was Sony's choice. Like they want to put Sweet Tooth on the cover. Like he needs to be on the cover of the game. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like people look at him and they know what it is. Like he stands out the most, and he needs to be on the front. And it worked for every game.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
I think
he's
for
on the cover of
marketing,
every game.
It stands out like a clown with flaming hair. Like
yeah.
it's a simple concept and no one else has done it. Where Axel, it's hard to make him the mask.
Yeah, it's kind of
buff
tough.
man and 2 wheels, baby.
He's standing there.
He's like an Oreo, but a monster truck.
You know,
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
It's tough to get him on the cover. I mean, you could zoom into his catheter or something. Maybe that would get some people in. But like, that's all you could really do. Like, Axel just wouldn't work.
If
Unfortunately,
they kept the Speedo, I think they'd have a better shot.
I agree.
maybe, but that would
100%.
make the game rated M though.
What? He's
Yeah,
not
right.
naked. He's just
I
showing
don't
the
know.
goods.
Might be too much for the parents.
Maybe.
I don't think they're gonna like it.
Well, there's gonna be real discussions in the artist room of like how big do you make the features
bulge?
of the yeah.
And then the cheeks, like how much crease do we get?
Yeah, that's
Do
like
we
the
add
special,
jiggle physics?
the special edition. Yeah, you could just have like the back of him.
Maybe that's why they haven't remade TM2 because they haven't decided on if they want Speedo Axel or regular Axel.
Well, you can't. How does Axel do emotes anyway?
I mean,
he makes
he
facial
could,
emotes. That's it.
but
He can headbang.
yeah, he could do that. He does that in the Twisted Metal 3 ending. His head fucking
What?
whacks around like a bobblehead.
What?
If you look at it, Axel's head in his ending in Twisted Metal 3, his head is like a fucking bobblehead.
Like
But
in the scene where he's screaming and like it's zooming in on him?
no,
Or-
when
when
he
when his
drives in.
car goes in, his head is like a fucking bobblehead. It like it just wiggles around.
Well, now I gotta watch that because I've never noticed that.
If you really pay attention to his head, yeah, it looks strange.
I was too
but-
busy looking at something else, I guess. I didn't- Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. Maybe if we do get a new TM, it'll just be a remake. Would you guys be mad at that, or would you rather just
Hell
hold the
no.
game?
No, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I think it would be because I mean, Twisted Metal 2, if they did remake it, like there's stuff they would need to fix,
Oh yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but-
They'd make it good.
and tighten it up. And then they would like the game has multiplayer on the PC version,
right.
like,
So
it's
they could add
playable.
multiplayer.
so like a multiplayer could be added,
Yeah.
and it just
But
depends on
would
how are
they-
you going to get post-launch sales out of it. That's the problem.
Would they
I
call
think,
it Twisted Metal 2 though? Or do you
That's
think
also another problem. They would it would just be awkward because it's like, where's the first game to all the new people?
Well, because people will get confused and say, "Wait, is this a sequel to the 2012 Twisted Metal?"
Yeah.
Or
It would just to alleviate confusion. That's just what you do when you reboot. Unfortunately, it's for all the new players that never played it, so they know. Like that's why like they came up
Bent
with a stupid
Steel.
title for like Mortal Kombat, like Mortal Kombat 1.
yeah, it's so
Like-
stupid.
But
I
it's
think
like they
what you could
have to do that. Unfortunately,
you remake Twisted Metal 2, you don't have to call it Twisted Metal 2, but because all the games, it's the same foundation of gameplay. It's, you're in
Right.
an arena with, so you can have Twisted Metal 2 as like the base game and just call it Twisted Metal.
Mhm.
And then you could just periodically add all the other elements of each game. Like it'll
You
just
mean
be the
like
hub
with
game.
updates or whatever.
Yeah, like updates or DLC or whatever it is, But so you have Twisted Metal, like Modern Warfare 3 uses Modern Warfare 2 maps. Like
Right.
numbers mean nothing in gaming. It's all just content.
Yeah.
So I think you could have a Twisted Metal 2 remake, just call it Twisted Metal, and then just build everything on top of that foundation.
Just remake TM2 and add Pizza Boy. I'm sold.
Yeah.
You could do it with the magic
possible,
of
yeah.
game development. It's possible.
Yeah.
definitely is. Just depends if they want to do it or not.
Yeah.
Well, if they
Or
know
they
better,
could call
they
it-
will.
The only problem would be trying to talk about the game because it's like, are you talking about Twisted Metal 1995? You're talking about Twisted Metal 2012, or are you talking about the new game?
Are you talking about Twisted
So
Metal?
they can go a route and then they can call it more or Twisted Metal 1 is what they can call it. I think they
Yeah.
can have it like that. Just call it
I mean,
do the Mortal
Medieval
Kombat
would
route.
just call it Medieval, right? And Demon Souls would just call Demon Souls. You can get away with just calling it.
What if?
Well, because it
What
would be the
if,
third game. Like, because if Mortal Kombat just called the new one Mortal Kombat, there'd be 3 games called Mortal Kombat.
Right.
So
What
I
if
think
they
that's
added
what
some
they were
type
trying to
of,
avoid.
Right?
Subtitle to it.
X2.
What is it?
Mortal Kombat, the new Mortal Kombat, right? The last one was 11, and so this would be 12.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's called Mortal Kombat 1, like the number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So that, and then it would be
numbers
3
are
games that
stupid.
were Twisted
That's
Metal
my
if it-
stance.
or Mortal Kombat. So it's the name titles are just I hate it. It just pisses me off. Like it really does. I hate these game titles that they make. But
What if?
it's
They
just
should go
frustrating.
to Final Fantasy route. Just make everything a fucking Roman numeral.
Just keep making it numbers. Just have it
Yep.
go up every once in a while.
And then sometimes there's like a 10, but 2.
Yeah, and then there's like 13
just,
too. You know?
just call this
Yeah.
one Twisted Metal 9.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah. TM9.
Twisted Metal 5.
Apocalypse 9.
Yeah, I guess it technically would be the next number because the last number one was 4. So
Yeah,
this would
they
be
should
Twisted
just
Metal
do that.
5.
It definitely work. I mean, it would probably confuse a lot of people, but still, just
It's
call
like,
it
where the
Twisted Metal
fuck is the
5.
first 4? It's like, go look them up. But
Yep.
I think they could just name it Twisted Metal and then have some type of subtitle underneath it, like Twisted Metal.
Cross country.
There you go.
Sure.
I don't know
Whatever
what
ice
the
cream
subtitle would
Calypso.
even be.
Twisted Metal, The Last of Us.
It's just
Revenge,
It's
yeah.
awesome titles.
Jesus.
Twisted Metal.
Sony's
I think the
last
only one they could get
chance.
away with would actually be naming one like Twisted Metal Black 2. I think that's the only game that would actually be able to thrive
Twisted
from
Metal Gray.
another.
Twisted Metal.
Number-
50
I-
Shades
I
of
don't know.
Gray.
White.
Small Brawl 2 would be good.
I mean, I would be
Brawl,
happier with
Twisted
Small Brawl
Metal
2 than Black
Tots.
2. I never said I'd be happy with Twisted Metal Black 2. I just said that it would. That's the only one that would make sense.
TMT, Twisted Metal Tots, baby.
Yeah. Twisted Metal
Twisted
Black
Metal
2.
Tots.
The sequel.
I
in
would
the
legitimately be
multiverse.
furious if they made a Small Brawl 2 and they didn't call Dave.
There's no way
Yeah.
they would call me.
I would be so furious. Like,
They
what
won't even
the
call
fuck?
terrible.
Jaffe if they make another one. Like,
No. Well, to
I don't
be
know if
fair
they
though,
would.
like, didn't he?
But-
This might just be rumors, but didn't he like burn bridges with them? Like, isn't that the whole
Maybe in
reason why they
2012.
wouldn't call him?
Maybe in
Yeah.
2012 he
Maybe?
did. I mean, it's very possible, but
Mountain
don't
Dew
know.
and Call of Duty.
I could be
there's
wrong
nothing
because
confirmed about it.
I know he
I've
said
heard
that,
rumors
like,
of that. I don't have any firsthand, accounts of that or firsthand knowledge. But
yeah,
he has said himself he was kind of a dick back in the day, and I can confirm that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he could have made people angry at Sony. I mean, with all the Scott Campbell boxing matches going on in 2012, I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
Well-
that and walking away in mid development to form Eat Sleep Play, that was probably pretty rough for Sony. I'm pretty sure Sony was not happy about that.
yeah. And I mean, he's also obviously had some controversy online with certain things he said in videos and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, I don't know actually when it comes to stuff like game design or like if you're directing movies or whatever, how much you have to be silent on stuff like that. Like, how much do they look at that kind of stuff? But I would assume any type of publicity, if they see, oh, this guy's working for us and he's making negative publicity in this certain situation, they probably don't want that name associated with them anymore. At least that's how I would look at it. But I don't know. Like, obviously,
that depends on if you're talking about controversy. Then he has been in controversy. So and he said things that, like, to put it lightly, the gaming industry would not, take very well because it's very particular with how they have their thoughts in the gaming industry. So some of the stuff he said in the past is not going to fly.
Mm-hmm.
It will not. They'll definitely be held against him. I mean, unless some new company that has no dealings with the other companies he's worked with,
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, oh yeah, this guy, let's get him in here. He's going to talk shit about Sony. They're our competitors. Like, in that situation, it could work. But I mean, the game industry is Fight Club. First rule about Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Right.
It's just like, you don't talk about crunch. You don't talk about all the stupid shit that goes on. You don't talk about the shady practices, because if you do, you're going to get blacklisted. Right. And there is definitely blacklisting going on in the game industry. I can tell you that for sure.
Oh yeah. The only people that could, like, in that situation, the only people that would pick him up would be like someone from Microsoft, right? Like the competitor.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a very specific project that is in his wheelhouse. Like, if we want a God of War competitor, despite the shit he's talked, about Sony, Microsoft be like, we need this guy.
Yeah.
Or a Twisted, as long as it's not, the company he's talked shit about, and it's the competitor, and they're doing something that is, he's known for, they'll take him on again.
Right.
But that's a very rare case. Like, for all those to line up perfectly, it's tough. And I don't think Jaffe wants to go into game dev again because it's very unstable. It's a really unstable career.
And I mean, he's found success with his content, so you got to applaud him for that. I mean, shit, if that's his full-time job, like, keep at it. Like, there's no reason to go back into an industry where maybe he feels threatened now, or like he feels like he would be on the cutting room floor at any second. There's no reason to put yourself through that if you're already successful doing something else and being your own boss. So
that's the key right there. Yeah, it's being your own boss.
Right.
He did a live stream last week, I think it was. It was Lunch with Jaffe. I think you had to pay for it. I think you just get to, like, watch him eat. I think that's what it was. I didn't want to pay for it, obviously.
Is he doing mukbang streams?
So it was just a just chatting stream, but he was eating food.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it seems like, So he's having a lot of success on YouTube. He went from making, beloved childhood games like Twisted Metal and God of War, and now he's having pay him so he could watch him eat.
I think that's my number one pet peeve of streamers, is them eating on screen. Like,
yes,
eat something before the stream. What the fuck are you? I don't need to watch food like flipping around in your mouth and saliva dripping down your cheeks. Like,
there's something about the noise that fucking pisses me off.
It is
listening to people eat. It is like my biggest pet peeve. It drives me fucking crazy listening to people eat.
What I used to do when I did like 8-hour
avocado was huge.
Yeah, mukbang.
When I used to do like 8 to 12-hour streams back in the day, I remember I would have food in between, a certain sector. Like, I would take breaks, obviously, but then, like, there would be a time where I'd order food or something. But what I would do is I would just turn off my webcam while I'm eating, and I would mute my mic if I was chewing, so like people wouldn't hear it or see it. And I always felt like that's just being considerate to the stream. But I remember legitimately I had people that would be in chat and they would say, oh, it doesn't bother me. It actually, like, I went and got a snack and I'm eating alongside with you. Like, I actually, like, I like, what do they say? It's like they like, and I'm honestly one of those people where if I'm making food or eating food, like, I will go up and look up like a YouTube video of like food related stuff, like Food Network or whatever. Like, I'll watch that stuff while I'm eating. So I kind of, to a degree, understand it. I've never once in my life, like, watched a live stream of somebody eating and I ate alongside with them. Like, not to that degree, but in a psychological way, like, thinking about it, I can understand why someone would be like that. Like, maybe they don't want to eat alone. They like, thinking that the person's in the room with them kind of thing.
But next time you stream, Drew, just heat up some of those, like, what are they? The Doritos, loaded. Just put them inside the toaster oven.
Yeah.
Just start cooking them up. just start having some munchies on stream. Have a good old Doritos loaded session.
Food content is huge, man. Like if you just fucking upload a video of you going to McDonald's for a day, you'll get like thousands of views.
Yeah,
really?
That's what I'm telling you.
I'm not even kidding you. Like
test.
food is probably one of the biggest categories on YouTube easily. I don't know about streaming, but
screw this Twisted
people
Metal
like food
shit.
reviews.
Twisted Metal.
Yeah, food reviews are very big. Like some people make videos about like frozen food reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
And they talk about like different.
The
I watched a
Wolf
couple
Pit.
of those. And I mean, the person that I've watched is Brutal Moose. He makes
I was gonna say
videos
Brutal
about-
Moose. I love his
Yeah.
stuff.
He makes some great videos about like food, like frozen food. That's where I figured out about the Doritos loaded classic food. Right there.
He hated them.
I mean, they're probably terrible. I've never had them before, but they are a terrifying
They look
thing.
horrible.
Now, can I
Yes,
merge the
they
two? Can
definitely
I do like Twisted Metal pastries and like here's my recipe for sweet tooth cupcakes or cake?
Do it.
You definitely could.
It could be a thing. You never know.
Yeah, start selling like Twisted Metal cookie cutters. Just
There
something
you go.
small like that.
Steve MRE.
But I found it
Steve
really
Emmer, man.
weird. I found it weird and kind of like disrespectful to the audience time to just like stop and eat, and they're just watching you chew the entire time. But at the same time, like, I mean, occasionally you get some odd ducks in your stream, and I feel like if I started eating on stream, I would get like a DM saying, "We were chewing at the same time. I feel like we're soulmates." And it's like,
I heard
like,
that
all right, I'm
slurp
done.
you made. Do it
I'm
again.
done with the streaming thing now.
No, it is true. There are weirdos like that. I mean, that's why, like, even though I got those comments of people like saying, I don't give a shit if you're eating on stream, it's like, I'm still going to turn my webcam off. I'm still going to mute myself because I don't feel comfortable doing it because it's not my
just
content.
courteous. It's just nice to do. Like, it's just because most people don't want to hear someone chewing like a horse. So.
Right.
And I don't want people to hear me chewing like a horse. Like it's a two-way street.
Unless you're
Just
doing
for
a
me.
Doritos loaded stream, then that's when you that's when you just break them out,
Right.
and then you break the rules.
I feel like I would make that video, but I would challenge myself to have a mirror in front of me. I had to watch myself do it. And if I can't upload it afterwards, then so be it. But
Hell no.
Right.
yeah, I'd have to look myself in the mirror for that one.
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna eat corn the long way for the stream, and then you'll get a whole new audience at that point.
The long way.
You gotta give some respect to the people who do food reviews and stuff like that, though, because you have to have some type of self-esteem to be able to record yourself like in front of a camera, eating food, and then telling somebody if it's good or not, or like describing how it is. Like, I could never do that. Like, I would be so self-conscious every time I open my mouth, like especially eating something. Like, I'd be worried about my chewing noises and everything, and even some videos that or some channels that are doing food reviews trying to get on that hype train, they only have like 2 viewers. Like, that's still, they have more confidence than I ever would, because I would not be able to like record myself doing that.
Yeah, neither would I. Food is a very hairy area. It's just not something that I'd really want to be having my foot into when it comes to
But
making.
dressed up like Chester Cheetah, I would probably do it.
Dressed up like
Yeah, they do have frozen mac and Cheetos. I sent those to you before.
those are good. I will say they're
Yeah, I
really
think
bad.
apparently they got
they'll
stolen
kill you,
from, like,
but
Burger
they're really
King.
good.
Apparently, Burger King stole those or something.
Well, I think
Of
Burger
all
King
things to
started
steal.
it, and then in the company that was selling them to Burger King decided to just put them in the grocery stores instead. They made more money doing that.
I mean, maybe. I've never had any mac and Cheetos, so I can't give an actual review on them.
They're good.
They couldn't be too bad. I've had mac and cheese bites, which was
Yeah.
probably the same thing, but it basically, because I don't think the Cheetos name is really going to change anything. Like, they're not putting Cheeto dust on my food, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe they are. I don't know, but
They tasted
knows?
literally just like mac and cheese with some like Cheeto cheese in there.
I mean, I don't know. It's like I might as well just eat the powder at the bottom of the bag.
Delicious.
Like that's the point we're getting to.
Gamer
If we're really
fuel.
scraping
God.
scraping the barrel to make food like that, then I think that's
Yeah.
definitely the move.
I knew some people when I was in high school who they would take like a Cheeto bag, they'd crush it up into fine powder, and then they would microwave it till it was like liquid, and then they would like drink it directly from the bowl.
I mean,
what?
Yeah,
Wow.
I never heard. I mean, kids used to smoke Smarties in school, but the kids weren't doing that stuff. Like,
I
they
snorted.
weren't-
I remember in middle
like
school, I
hot
snorted
Cheeto
Fun
dust.
Dip one time. That was horrible.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Don't ever do
I've done
that.
that. Snorting Fun Dip's not a good idea.
It
It's
fucking
very
hurts.
painful. It hurts. It's
burns.
very, very painful.
Wow.
But it's a very silly thing to do, but it's painful. It gives you a migraine afterwards. Like, it's not good. It also
Speaking
depends
from
on how much you
experience.
actually do it. I am actually. So it's just like it's not. You gotta be careful. With
Your
that stuff.
first like 3 hits aren't too bad. It's like the 17th time. That's when
That's
it's
right.
like, okay, no,
I know it's like looping people into a drug addiction.
God.
Fucking hell.
Sounds like the whippets of my generation, where you just go get like
Oh, yeah.
whipped cream and you would just
Yeah.
suck out the
Air,
O2.
yeah. Stores like ID people for trying to buy cans of condensed air because of that stuff.
Really?
yeah.
That's fascinating.
I've seen it in line before. Like they would refuse to sell compressed air to someone that looked underage because people do whippets, so they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, whippets, or we would get vanilla extract, which had a high alcohol content, and then we'd like,
What?
try to, and then you'd let it sit out and evaporate, so it was like mostly alcohol, but by the time you were done, it was only like 2%.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, the ghetto stuff people would do to just
You know
try
how
to
bad
get
that
like,
would
higher-
taste?
Yeah, drinking vanilla extract normally isn't good.
That
It's
would
only
be
good when you put it.
horrible.
Oh my god, please.
Oh my
It's only good when you put it in something.
Yeah.
Not when you're just drinking it.
Well, extract of anything is just too much flavor. Like it would
It
just
was pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. It's like especially like mint extract that's old, like burn your throat.
Well, do you remember like
yeah.
the cinnamon challenge where I had to take a full tablespoon of cinnamon
People would
and
die
swallow
from
it?
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
God.
people died from that
Like
stuff.
I'm so
imagine
glad
a
I
full
missed that.
tablespoon of vanilla extract. Like that'd just be oh
Good alcohol.
yeah, you
Yeah,
get drunk.
Yeah, I mean,
Have
you
we
can
gotten
give it a
off
try.
topic?
I don't think so.
Try it live right now on the podcast, Kong.
Oh, great.
I don't think so.
I don't
It's
think
okay.
so.
It's a little bit of a turn.
Everything
It's
there
the
is to talk about.
it's the off season.
It is
That's
true.
true.
You know, it's the off season. There's
The
no
forever
season.
off-season.
Yeah, there's no season like that's been announced yet. We're in the off season.
Kong has given me a genius idea for this is how I'm going to make my fortune, I think, is that Dorito powder you're talking about. What if you sold that in salt shakers? And you could just you could put it on anything. You know, you want that Dorito flavors on your hamburger, just
On
get out
popcorn,
that
yeah.
Dorito salt shaker and just
I mean,
put
it
right
can
in.
work. It actually
Yeah.
could work. You could spice some food up a little bit,
I
or
swear
you
to
can add some like
God.
extra Dorito dust onto your Dorito and get like a full Dorito. Because sometimes you get chips that don't actually have like all the dust on it.
Yeah. Think about that.
Well, you know
That's what I'm
now,
saying.
if Doritos comes out with that product like in a month or now or a year from now, they watch this podcast. So we made it.
I think so. They're also going to get a lawsuit.
That from the episode, let Goodrich hold on to that one for a while.
Yeah, let it marinate.
Yeah, I don't want to let out your ideas because if you do that, someone's going to steal it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
many
you
of my
now
ideas have
own
been
the copyright
stolen.
to that. So if anyone else uses that title in some way, then that means that they're stealing it and they're ripping you off.
I'm not sure that the way copyrights work.
Well,
I swear, Judge, it wasn't a podcast.
it was in a podcast. We have the proof. With I guess kind of cycling back to the topic at hand. Is there anything else we wanted to bring up relating to like past Twist Metal projects or anything? I know we kind of briefly brought up like
we
the
didn't-
Revolution thing, but
We didn't really touch on it. What's the other one? Revolution and
Apocalypse.
what else? Apocalypse, yeah. That one was supposed to be it was just supposed to be post-apocalyptic like road trip, right?
pretty much.
Right. That's all it was. It was just Twisted Metal, but everything's already blown up. And
Yeah, with like
hey, that's
Uncle
boring.
Sam.
Yeah.
No, that was Road Trip USA.
Oh, yes. And that was that going to be instead of which game? Black?
Black, yeah. So for the PS2, it was that Road Trip USA, a more traditional, Twisted Metal, fun, lighthearted fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Black, which was, what we got.
So how
Black
is
Horror.
Jeffy going to start ragging on like Twisted Metal 3 and 4 Sweet Tooth when he was going to make him look like Uncle Sam?
Well, see,
Like,
Jeffy
it's the bow
understands the,
tie.
world.
Like, what?
He is Uncle Sam.
Maybe
I mean,
it
yeah, I
wasn't
guess
his
he is Uncle Sam.
design.
He gets all of our tax money every year.
Maybe it wasn't his idea though. Like maybe it was a design choice from someone on the team, And that's why it got canceled, because Jaffe like saw that and he was like, no.
Yeah, he goes into the room and he like grabs their fucking design document and rips
Just
it
rips
in
it
half.
up in
Says,
front
you
of
ever
him."
show this to me again, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you outside.
Scott's just trembling in
you
the
up.
corner. He's like, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore.
I don't know about that.
No, it wouldn't be that.
I feel like Scott could throw down.
I think
Much
so
more than
too. That dude
Jaffe
looks
could.
ripped, man. Like you said, he
He's got
bikes
those,
to work
the
every day.
biking
Right?
muscles, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Funny
a
thing
biker.
is like both those dudes are like short. Like they're shortish dudes, but they're both bulky. Like they're almost evenly matched, except Scott is in super like really good shape.
Usually toned.
If he could, like he could just like run around Jaffe for an hour until Jaffe collapsed.
Yeah, he can do the
Spin
boxing
you like
strategy.
a
He's gonna
washer.
gas out Jaffe because he's gonna get knocked out in one punch, so he's gonna gas him out a bit
Yeah.
and then go in for the
Yeah.
sleeper
If you
hook.
awaken the inner God of War Kratos, Sweet Tooth inside of Jaffe, fucking look out, man.
Yeah, he's gonna throw your ass off a boat or some shit like that.
I feel like all the Diet Coke and Doritos may have taken the God of War out of Jaffe
The diet Coke.
physically.
I mean, he has
Not
his people.
mentally.
He's got the diet soda soldiers to come out and do his dirty work.
Right? Yeah.
Still, I
He's
don't think
servants.
anybody's afraid of that.
I don't like to claim that I can, fight people. I don't want to inflict violence in any capacity.
I
but
do.
I do
Of course
feel like
not.
I could probably take David Jaffe in a fight. I think I could probably do it.
I don't think so.
And I'm pretty averse to throwing a punch. I think I could probably do it.
I
don't
think
know.
David. I think he has hidden power that we just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like that's how he
might.
comes up with these things. I mean, like he said that he is Sweet Tooth and Kratos. So
Well, he'll put up a paywall. Is what he's gonna do.
Fight me for
I'll pay you
$10.
$10. You pay me $10 and I'll fight you.
no, it would definitely. You got to add a couple zeros.
10,000.
He's not going to do it for $10. Like you give him $1,000. I mean, he'll probably say, "Yeah, I'll meet you out in the parking lot."
I'll meet you somewhere
Sell out for $1,000.
for $1,000.
God damn it.
I'll get one good punch in, and I may kill you.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see when Dave goes on Jaffe's podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see if that ever happens.
If
That'd
if
be
it
cool.
does happen, I'm excited for that.
I
Yeah.
feel like Jaffe is placating his audience. Like there's been a little, like 2 or 3 people that are like a crossover between our pod or like
Yeah.
our
Like Wallace.
members that keep bringing it up, and I think Jaffe's just saying like, "Oh yeah, I'll have Dave on."
Just to
I'll
shut
have
him
Goodrich
up.
on just to shut him up. Exactly.
I hope not. It would be interesting.
What would
It
you
would be
get?
interesting
be.
to see you three, you, Dave, and Jim, all talking
wow.
about Twisted Metal. That would be an interesting thing to
I feel
watch.
like I feel like David probably. I don't think he would want like Jim on there because he pretty much tries to stay away from 3 and 4 as much as he can.
I mean, he
Yeah,
seems to have
that's-
softened up a bit though over
Maybe.
the years about it. So it's like I don't think he would have any bad blood towards him. I mean, he was just doing his job.
No,
so like, I don't see how
I
you
don't
could-
think it's that. I think it's just
Yeah.
he would look at Jim's like not this isn't the right word, but like discography, like his work, and he would be like, "There's nothing really we have in common, and there's nothing really that we would have much to talk about because I didn't work on 3 and 4, kind of thing." And I think he just wouldn't care.
I
But
could
Jaffe
see that.
was
I
involved
mean,
with 3, wasn't he? He was like
No,
a little
I don't
bit.
think
He said he
so.
went a couple of he like went on calls with him a couple of times. I
Yeah.
think just to look at the project. I think that's about it though.
I
Just
could
like
see
how he
I could
worked
see
on
Nick's
every project.
point. I could see Nick's point on this in that like Jim was a programmer and not heavily in design or the creative process.
Yeah,
And this was a title that was just kind of done off on the side where I've had direct dealings with Jaffe and was direct competition with him,
right.
and eventually like taking
I
over
mean-
like some of the Twisted Metal duties for him while he was off on God of War stuff. So I could see that being more of a relevant conversation between me and
Yeah.
Jaffe than Jim. But at the same time, I have 500 subs and he has 50,000. Like, what would he get out of that? Like, I would get something out of it. He would get literally nothing out of a conversation with me. It does not benefit him in any way.
Yeah, I mean, who knows though? That might be one of his most watched streams or like whatever, right? Like he could get publicity out of it, but
It could be.
Yeah, I mean, he
with
could
the
just talking
reputation
about
of
Twisted
V8,
Metal.
maybe.
yeah,
Just the Twisted Metal people that would be interested in just talking, like hearing developers talk about the game. I mean,
right. And we've
Just
I should
something nice.
give a quick disclaimer because we've gotten some comments on our previous podcast of like people have gotten legitimately offended by like some of the stuff we've said about like Jaffe or
Oh, no.
oh, it's just facetious. Just like banter.
Well,
It's not anything.
Yeah, we're 1,000%
serious.
like being sarcastic in most of the stuff. Like
We love
we have
Jaffe.
no bad blood against Jaffe. We love the guy. He's made amazing games. We respect him. We were trying to get that across, but of course we're gonna have some small jokes here and there because I think honestly I really do feel like if he was to watch the podcast, I don't think he'd get offended. I think he would laugh, but I don't
Probably
know.
just won't even give a shit.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I mean, and that's a fair point too. Like, I mean, I only talk about some of the conflict between Jaffe and Scott because Jaffe already talked about it, and it's not like
Right.
I'm throwing out rumor or speculation. It's just like, okay, Jaffe finally revealed this, so I will talk about the same thing because I also know a little bit about that just based on talking to the Incog guys, in the
Exactly.
past, and so yeah, I mean, it's all in good fun. Like he seems like a good dude. He's definitely mellowed over time, but he's also he's also admitted he was pretty spicy back in the day, and I can confirm that. So, but I'm not going
Right.
to say like he's an awful person. He's a dick. He's not talented. No, I would never say that about him. He's done a lot of cool shit, and honestly, I'd love to talk to him sometime. Before we're both too old to remember it, as far as like auto
Yeah,
combat
I know.
goes.
Before the dementia starts kicking in.
Right.
It's
I mean, we're hitting the 50s, so we're in the kill zone for the next pandemic that rolls through.
Oh no. Oh man. Yes, I don't know. I mean, everybody that's listening to the podcast, I mean, if you want to don't like harass him obviously. I do feel bad when I hear about like that people are like in his chat and constantly bringing it up like, "Hey, you should do this or you should do this," like cuz as a content creator myself, like I can understand that can be frustrating. Like he might not show it cuz he obviously doesn't want to offend his viewership. He doesn't want to, especially anybody who's subscribing to him or a membership, like if they're paying money to support him, he doesn't want to offend you or hurt your feelings. So he's probably keeping it inside. But as a content creator, like Dave said earlier, I easily can understand like and see maybe hearing all the time like, hey, there's these content creators that are Twisted Metal fans and they want you to be on their podcast or they want to get a hold of you, blah blah blah. Like he might just in the moment say something to make you feel better and like to let you know like, hey, that I'll look into it. But constantly harassing him, and that goes for like any bigger creator, and saying like, we want you to be on this or talk to these guys, whatever. Like we're flattered for it, but don't go out of your way to like constantly harass them because it makes us look bad in a way. Like it makes us look like we're needy, and I don't know. It's not professional. So we appreciate it. It's just try to be a little bit more mellow about it, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, there's definitely no need to do that. It's a little bit. It can just be over the top. And
Yeah.
it just people can make their own decisions, and if we would try to reach out to them ourselves if we really wanted to do that, then that would be the move.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing too, is because I think I talked about this in a previous podcast about like another content creator, Tactical Bacon Productions. I don't remember who it was, but we had a couple people from our community that was like commenting on his videos a lot and saying like, hey, you should join their podcast. You should do this, do that. And it's one of those things like if we want somebody to be on our podcast, like we will 100% try our best to reach out and get a hold of them. And again, we appreciate that you're thinking of us in that way, but it can come across as like we're telling our audience to go and ask those people like to be on the podcast or to join our Discord or watch our videos. And that's just not what we want. Like we don't want that to be a reoccurring thing because that just will not end well, basically.
Yeah, it definitely won't end well. So please don't.
Yeah,
that's really the bottom line.
Just please don't.
In that sense, just please don't.
Just trust us that we're perfectly content with the 5 people on the podcast now, and should that change, then we'll go about it ourselves.
Yeah, well, we will. I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't want to say who we've talked about, but there are people we want to have on as guests. Like, I think that will happen in the future.
Right, and we'll communicate to those people when the time comes.
Right.
Like
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have. It's all right.
But like if a guest comes on this podcast, it's someone that we are going to talk to ourselves. We'll work it out. Like it
Yeah.
will not come by way of you commenting on their videos, asking them. That's never how this would ever happen.
Yeah. But yeah, in the end, we do 100%, 1,000% appreciate the support and you guys trying to get the word out to other people. Like, hey, they have this thing going on. Go check it out. Like, we appreciate that. Don't think that for a second we don't. But yeah, it's just sadly it can come across as forced, and we just don't want to have to deal with the repercussions of that. So yeah, trying to think, was there anything else we wanted to bring up in this one, other than the?
No, we hit all the topics. We hit the Twisted Metal like projects beforehand. What happened, like, or would Twisted Metal thrive in the current world? Talked about Doritos Loaded.
Yep.
Talked about David Jaffe.
Yep.
I mean, all the check marks are hit. Like all the boxes are ticked.
There's only two projects we didn't talk about.
Harbor City.
Oh, I mean, we did already talk about Harbor City, and yeah, the
With
two
Lost,
projects
right?
Dave was talking about. I forget the name of what
Worlds?
were they, Dave?
We had Twisted
Worlds
Metal
and-
World, which was kind of the in and out of cars, get in a new car, so you it wouldn't count as a death. It was kind of like what they're trying to do with not 2012, but the
Destruction
Lost
of,
stuff.
I thought it was the. Oh wait, what do you mean?
Harbor City.
Harbor City, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where if your car got wounded enough or damaged enough, you could get out and get to a new car and keep fighting, which it sounded really cool because that's kind of the GTA model, but games would last forever, and it was kind of frustrating. Like Nick brought up that point, like I killed your car, but now you ran off, got a new car, and it just keeps going, and it's you know
Yeah.
it's not a good experience. So that was in or initial designs, I want to say, like right after Paint Brawl, which Paint Brawl is the other kind of side project that came out of Twisted Metal Small Brawl, which was it was Quake, but with the Twisted Metal Small Brawl kids using paintball guns instead.
Yeah.
And you would have various paintball guns like single shot, sniper, machine gun, paint grenades, in all kinds of different levels in an amusement park. So that was one that we actually got probably a quarter of the way into development, including like levels built with like underwater tube levels with like a Jaws swimming around down there,
Cool.
or a bumper cart level, or a space level where gravity was reduced, but you would have like a lot of verticality and super jumps, haunted, mansion type levels, really cool shit going on. And I think we got as far as like doing a full on cinematic with most of the characters fully rendered out. You're running around a level shooting at each other. It was pretty cool. And at some point I'll have to do a full video on it, but it was like the next extension of what Small Brawl was going to be into a new genre, because Sony wanted to kind of branch out, but they really liked the Small Brawl characters quite a bit. So we wanted to do something with that.
So they wanted to play into the
Brawlverse.
kids stuff? Like they wanted to play into like the younger audience targeted games? Or was it not supposed to be younger or targeted to younger audiences?
It was going to be younger audience against. That's why we went with paintballs instead of like real weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kid friendly. It was a scoring system as far as like how much paint you had on your body and whether you got knocked out. Very Quake-esque, but I actually made some really neat features of adding things like stealth modes, where depending on your perception, you would see people either directly or off to the side of your vision, but they would be transparent based on their amount of stealth. So if you had like really good stealth, you would be 90% transparent if nobody was looking at you directly. But if they looked at you directly, they would see you much more clearly.
That's cool.
Also like audio cues too, where depending on how loud the sound was, it would be like a 360 radar around your character. So you would hear like footprints, with a strong visual off behind you or to the right, if that's where the character was, or gunshots off to your left, depending on how loud they were and how good your audio perception was. So we were doing some really interesting UI stuff in that game. So that was one of the cut projects that came out of Twisted Metal Small Brawl, which is not car combat, but loosely related to it. So that was one of the other projects.
And that was
that
a
we didn't talk
PS2
about.
title, right?
It was going to be PS2, yes.
Okay. Which it's interesting. So like if you remember, when it comes to you released Small Brawl, and I remember you talked about that it sold enough to break even, right? But it wasn't like a success.
Mm-hmm.
So did Sony greenlight this idea before Small Brawl released, or was this after?
This was after. So we went Small Brawl. That, as you mentioned, it just barely broke even. Like it was probably razor thin
Yeah.
because I think we only got like a couple $100 each as royalties. Where if you worked in games before, a decent title will get you 10 grand in royalties.
Wow.
A really good project will get you 50 grand or more. I'm pretty sure the Spider-Man guys on 2 or 1 and 2 were getting 100 grand.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's like Jim Buck money right there.
Yeah, it's if you are experienced,
either, but
if you're experienced and your title sells well, you can actually double your salary.
Wow.
At a company like that. So we barely broke even. So it was a couple $100 for or even like less than that.
you remember what you spent your reward money on?
I put it in the bank for a rainy day, like I did every single bonus I've ever gotten, because the game industry is super dicey.
That's smart.
But yeah, so to answer your question, so we finished Small Brawl, we went into Twisted Metal Black Online,
Right.
and we did that, completed that. Then we worked on Downhill Domination.
Hell yeah.
As far as like a lot of the ending art, we didn't actually work on the game proper, but just like here's the cinematic art, we helped out with that. And then there was a lot of traction in Sony for, we really like the Small Brawl characters, they look really cool, what can we do with it? And then that's kind of where the Small Brawl shooter came out of it. So we did that for a bit. Quarter of the way through, that got canceled, and then they started talking about Twisted Metal World, which is the one I talked about earlier.
That's so interesting that Sony, because what would that have been? 2-3 years after Small Brawl came out, when they thought about the Small Brawl paintball?
Probably a year.
Oh, only a year. Wow. Okay, so a lot happened in that 1 year.
Yeah, we were moving fast. I was only at Incog for 3.5 years.
Okay.
So what? A year on Small Brawl, probably a year on Black, and then that last year was probably spent doing the Paint Brawl and then Twisted Metal World.
Okay.
With both those being canceled, I saw the writing on the wall, and I decided to go back to Lexoflex.
Yeah, it was, honestly, I would have probably done the same. That's tough. I mean, it's got to be somewhat disheartening when you spend months of your life working on a project that you're probably pretty excited for. You got some cool ideas, you implement stuff into a code, and you got it all coming together, and then they just pull the rug out from under you. Like,
that's pretty common though. That's really common in games.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I mean, you're right. It is. We put a lot of love into it. Unfortunately, I kept most of the Paint Brawl stuff, which I'll show at some point. I wish I could get that video.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
The teaser video was really cool, and maybe I'll reach out to a couple of people and see.
That'd be awesome.
That was really cool. But yeah, I mean, you put a lot of love into it, but you can also tell when like Sony's interested in what you're doing and when they're not. And I could tell from Small Brawl they lost interest. But then they gained it, a little bit with Black Online. But again, that was a title that was not meant to make money. It was meant to sell the
units.
Not the units. Oh God!
It's like an adapter.
The internet online.
The internet adapter. That is
Yeah.
all that was meant to do. So
Makes sense.
It was clear that our little studio was not wasn't going to have legs for very long. So, but we did a lot of neat stuff, and I'm actually glad I kept it, because I don't think even Sony kept it.
Wow.
Like, I think I'm the last keeper of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool. That's definitely stuff that, you can release. Well, because you'd be able to like put that in your own content, right? Like show it off, since it's your design.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be careful.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start a Patreon.
Do it. I mean, like you can do a Patreon for as low as $1, but you
There
could.
you go.
I mean, yeah, you might as well. I mean, I know a lot of people, including me, would be down to support you to see that stuff. So
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, NDAs are definitely a thing in the industry, but I don't think Sony cares. And these games have been released or canceled,
yeah,
and they're not going to revisit this. So I don't see why they would get a hair up their butt about this
right.
and just let all this information just disappear like forever.
I guess.
So I'm hoping. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say like the only thing I could think of why they would get angry is if you, let's say you made content talking about this old game that was never made, and then you turned around and like started up your own like company and started making that game. Maybe
That's not
then
gonna
they would get
happen.
angry, but
Yeah, that's
I
why
mean,
fan projects got to be careful as well.
right.
Like you got to be really careful with that stuff because if they put a cease and desist on that, you need to stop.
Yep. Shut it down
That's
immediately.
because I've seen a couple people like fan projects. They're like, oh, and they like call it Twisted Metal, and I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like, don't call the game Twisted Metal because it's like if you do that and it starts to get traction in some way and Sony sees it, like that shit's gonna get shut down.
Yep.
Yeah,
So it's
as
like,
some
don't
of
do
the
that.
as some of the heads of Sony told me in the past, Sony and Disney and all the other big publishers don't care unless it starts making money.
Oh,
Like
100%. Yep.
you could do whatever you want. You could talk about whatever you want. I mean, and kind of to your point, Nick, is like you're right in that I could release it. I'm not, or this content, I can release it, but I'm not going to start my own company around it and use these ideas. But the fact that I released it means other people could.
Oh,
So
that's a good
that's
point.
kind of the
Yeah,
minefield.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing though. If let's just say hypothetically, you didn't have a Patreon or nothing, you just released it publicly on a YouTube video or on Reddit, whatever. You released like these concepts and you talked about this game that you worked on with these guys. Somebody takes those ideas, let's say, well, no, I'm not even going to say a random company, but just say somebody owns a gaming company. They're looking for ideas. They stumble across your post. They steal it. They make that game, right? They're working on it. Maybe even they get to the point of selling it. Wouldn't Sony at that point just sue them? And then they would win. I mean, Sony's bigger.
Cease and desist, right?
Or
Like, they would
cease and
just do
desist,
that
whatever. Like,
'cause that's what Activision Blizzard did.
'cause I don't
was
think
Call of Duty
that-
fan games.
right, because I don't think that would come back to you is what I'm getting at. Like, that wouldn't be on you. That would be on that company.
No, you're right, but also, so a lot of these NDAs exist because ideas are very relevant at the time.
Yeah.
The stuff I'm talking about is 20 years old. While it was
Right.
cutting edge back then, every other company has done this and much better. And they've actually innovated on it on their own. So
Mhm.
it's not like I'm going to make anything or release anything that is going to damage anything that Sony's doing in the future.
Yeah.
This is like declassified stuff from the Pentagon from like 50 years ago. Like nobody gives a shit
Right.
like, at this point. And it'd be silly for Sony to go, how dare you release this idea about, this paintball thing in one of your streams?
Right.
And I'd be like, guess what? I can point to 10 other shooters that did it recently and much better.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I released it, they might be able to say, you know what? I copied them because they're actually doing something with it. And this was
Sure.
never touched. So that's kind of where the rubbing point comes in as far as like, is it relevant now? Is it going to hurt future business plans in the next 5 years?
Right.
And the answer is no. Like none of the stuff I'm talking about is going to be, doing any of that.
If you really want to piss off a big conglomerate company, you could piss off Nintendo and name the video, I actually created Splatoon before Nintendo did.
Or I made the wheel attachments that changed so you can drive in Mario Kart before they did.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
Nintendo's tough with that stuff. I mean, they
They
threatened to
are.
sue a kid making Minecraft skins.
Yep.
They can go.
They threatened to sue him. Not even like they're like, dude, like if you don't stop making Minecraft skins and sell, and they didn't cost any money. They were free. They're like, if you keep doing this, like we're gonna
kill you.
Right, but
But
that's
this was before, right before they released their Wii U Mario pack. But go on, Dave.
Oh yeah, no, I mean this goes back to the point. Like that's hurting their current business plan within like a couple of years. But I have proof that I actually had tire swapping mods like years before Nintendo ever did it in like Mario Kart 8.
Damn.
Also, like, I came up with the first Nemesis system in games, like well before like Mordor, like Shadow of Mordor,
Yeah.
in Ratchet and Clank, where you would see the individual who's killed you the most, or you would see who was the leader, by having a crown above their head. So I
Right.
created a lot of very simple first systems in the game industry, but I'm not going to go around suing people for that shit later on.
You stole my
Nintendo?
idea.
Pay me my money. I'll complain about it, but I'm not going to sue you.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. You never think about that kind of stuff, I suppose. It's just like a gamer, not necessarily someone who's worked in the industry. And that kind of makes me understand a lot more as like with like Jim Buck. I know he's always been really weary about releasing stuff on TM3 and 4 that he has like stored away. And I think I understand more with that too, because Twisted Metal is still obviously an IP that Sony uses, at least with the TV show right now being a hot topic. And even though that stuff is 20 plus years old, I guess I can understand his fear of they might come at me and say, like, we could use those ideas in a new Twisted Metal. So how dare you like release that to the public?
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal 3 is a rough one because, like, I don't think they would even care with Twisted Metal 3, but because I don't think they're gonna re-release them because they need to.
No, they won't.
They need to deal with the soundtrack problem.
Yeah,
I agree.
I can see his problem though.
Jim's pretty safe, I think, at this point.
yeah,
Like, the most they would do is say, take this down. Like, take it off your YouTube channel. That's it.
right.
But
Like,
those
you don't-
PlayStation Museum videos have been up for like a decade, and it shows the footage of those.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
because he
I
said
don't
he
think they
has
would care.
those discs, right? He has those.
He has, yes, he
versions.
has. He doesn't have the Twisted Metal 4 one, but he has the Twisted Metal 3 one. He has the very first one that they showed with the
Man,
Washington D.C. like open area
yeah,
and stuff like that. He doesn't have the Twisted Metal 4 one though.
that'd be so cool to see.
I would love him to go through it, just to look, just go through the game and look through the levels and just talk about some of the stuff. Like it would be nice,
For real.
it'd be great because no one's really talked about those things. So it's like the unknown piece of Twisted Metal history, aside from the head-on and Harbor City stuff from Scott,
Right.
which we'll never get. But
Well, never
Fortunately.
say never.
unless he somehow comes around, but I doubt it.
Maybe he's been Wallace this entire time.
That would be
Yeah, he comes
hilarious.
out one day. He's actually Scott.
Yeah, I'm actually Scott. Just want to say thanks, guys.
Yep. That means I've talked a lot of shit to Scott then.
He's given a lot of money to Jeffy.
Oh my god.
Love you, Wallace. I'm just joking.
So I mean, I gotta ask: have people been complaining in the chat about us, like giving Jaffe a hard time? I thought we've been pretty fair.
We've had a couple people that, and granted, I think one of them did reply to me saying that they were just joking or like they weren't meaning to be harsh, but
I saw that one. Yeah,
we have had comments before where they were like, "Wow, that was like you guys are really ratting on Jaffe" or stuff like that.
It's a good disclaimer. Nobody hates
Right?
Mr. Jeff.
Yeah,
No one
no.
hates the Jeff.
no, not at all.
We would literally be honored if he watched or listened to our podcast or wanted to be on here. Like that is,
Yeah,
you know.
that's the greatest thing you could ever have.
yeah, it'd be
Man
like,
himself.
yeah, having the second coming of Christ. Or
No, that's not him. That's somebody else.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's
But yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing personal. It's we don't have any bad blood. We don't want to spread rumors. It's nothing like that. Well, we like to poke fun because he's obviously like the big talk of the town when it comes to Twisted Metal. So his name's gonna get brought up from time to time. It's just how it is. But yeah, I think we covered everything we wanted to go through today. This podcast actually ended up being longer than I expected it to be.
yeah, it did. It's a good one though. I enjoy
Yeah,
it.
it's been fun. I hope
Yeah,
you
it's
guys
got a perfect variety for the off season.
Yes, that's true. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. We don't have an idea at the moment yet of what next episode's going to be on, but we're going to start.
Maybe.
That's what we're thinking. I was about to say, I think we're going to start deviating to maybe other car combat franchises like Vigilante 8, for instance. And
Oh god, not that shitty franchise.
Yeah, that piece of crap.
Fuck those guys.
damn rip-off artists.
That's
Twisted Metal,
right.
they just ripped off Twisted Metal
Yeah,
Flex
how
to
dare
Flex
they?
sucks. Down with them.
It does. All that stuff is awful. I hope all those guys are unemployed forever.
Oof.
That's not a wish I would be making.
No, I would not either. Actually, at the moment.
Yeah,
Fortunately, half the guys are retired at this point.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Adrian's he made a book, right?
Adrian's retired. He's making a book. Kerry just retired from Riot. I was surprised by that. He
Oh,
was just
wow.
like, I'm done. I'm out. I mean, the dude is he's a very talented programmer, but he's made his money. He's completely left the game industry and just doing IT, which is kind of smart to some point. He's made his fortune. It's waiting for him for when he retires, and he's just riding it out, I think. Jeremy disappeared off the face of the planet. Edvard is working at God, what is it, Aim Assist or something, where it's like a gaming program that teaches you how to aim better and faster.
Oh, Aim Labs.
Was it Aim Labs?
Aim Labs, thank you.
Oh wow, I use Aim Labs.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I heard he's over there. I think I'm the only one left in the game industry from V8 at this point.
Damn. Got to wear that crown.
I know. And then second offense, we had a couple of others. Micah's just disappeared off the planet. I think he went into architecture and designing buildings. Justin,
sweet,
the most amazing animator I've ever met, has started his own studio and is now animating for hand animation for Hasbro. Like he's doing like the old stop motion stuff where you move it a frame, take a picture, move it like a split, a tiny bit, move it.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. Actually, who else? Edvard, Adrian. Yeah, that's it. I'm it. I'm the last game dev from Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8 still in the industry.
Protect this man at all costs.
Loot my corpse well.
Yeah. So yes, that's why we obviously want to cover Vigilante 8. That'd be a fun episode for sure. Maybe even do 2 separate episodes, one for the first one and then one for the second. Because you said that the developments were quite different for both games.
They were. First one was, I thought it was crunchy. It was not, and it was actually one of the better, most well polished games I've ever worked on.
Yeah.
Second offense, we tried to put way too much in for the team size. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. So that'd be fun, to go over those. So we'll definitely do those. And then from that point on, we're just going to kind of switch it up. Maybe talk about some different topics. Like I think everything will relate to gaming in some way, shape, or form. But maybe talk about our experience with content creation and stuff like that and streaming. And food. Do some food reviews.
Yeah, food reviews.
KFC's new Double Down. Test that out live on stream.
Yeah, try some Mountain Lion.
Mountain Lion versus Dr. Pibb. Which one's better?
What is Mountain Lion?
It's a store brand of Mountain Dew at
it's
a store that's called Food Lion, and that's their store brand. It's called Mountain Lion.
Yeah, I just went to Food Lion today.
I know what I want my audience to send me now.
I know that's what I'm saying. I really want a bottle of that. Like I wouldn't even drink it. I wouldn't touch it. I would just keep it on the shelf.
Put it on the shelf.
Yeah. I'm surprised Food Lion's still around though. They had a controversy in the 90s of spoiled meat that they were selling to companies.
The 90s. Well, yeah, we only go there. They're a favorite.
I'm not kidding. No, they actually had. They also had a labor law problem as well. So they're not a very good company, but they do sell Mountain Lion, so it's okay.
Well, they have cheap groceries, so I'm gonna still support them, even if their employees hate their lives.
I don't know. I don't think it's still a problem, but it was at one point.
Now that you bring it up, the meat is usually spoiled.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just bad. Like they were. I don't know. I'm trying to remember what happened off the top of my head, but it was not good though. It was like people were getting poisoned or some shit. I don't really know. It was bad.
I'll have to look that up. Anyway,
it wasn't good.
Anyway. So yeah, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. Hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful day. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.